Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with femKyubi? Part 3. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Stupid council and their stupid missions to go and try to seduce some stupid guy to join our village. Yujito ranted inside her head as she trekked in the direction of Hai no Kuni. Calm down kitten, just kick the shit out of him and he will join the village. Nibi attempted to calm down her pissed Jinchuriki. I know Nibi-chan, it's just that I am so sick and tired of the council sending me on seduction missions. They treat Kurabi-sensei like an idol, but they just glare at me and decline me entrance to shops, Yujito thought bitterly. You know that I'm sorry for attacking your village, right? Some masked man appeared out of thin air and looked at me with some strange red eye with black markings in them, and the next thing I know I am getting sealed in, Nibi replied sadly. I don't blame you Nibi-chan, I'm just not sure how much more of this treatment I can take, Yujito sighed. Not all of them are bad, how about Kurabi and his genin team? Nibi asked her container. Raikage-sama tries his best to make sure I have a good life, Kurabi-sensei is great as well, so are his genin team. Yujito trailed off as she tried to think of other people that were nice to her. But that's it, besides Derry and C, I can't think of any others. Don't worry kitten, I'm sure they will come around eventually. Nibi reassured the blonde-haired Jinchuriki. Right, and the guy I'm chasing is going to be super hot, Yujito replied sarcastically before cutting off the mental link. But Naruto and company. Naruto sneezed, suddenly causing the Amari he was forming to become unstable and implode. He felt his eyebrow twitching uncontrollably. It's been a week since they had started training and the encounter between Naruto and Akatsuki, the group hadn't heard from the organization since then. Naruto sighed as he began gathering black positive chakra and white negative chakra while trying to get them in the correct ratio and rotating them in every direction at the same time. He concentrated as the black and white chakras started gathering and he tried to get them in the right ratio. As he started rotating them, the hell-formed Amari just fell apart again. Damn it, this is ridiculous. I can't gather the correct ratio while trying to create a Rasengan, it's like trying to look left and right at the same time. Wait a minute, looking left and right at the same time, that's it. Naruto's eyes widened in realization. You, come over here. Naruto called one of his shadow clones over. Okay, well I start gathering the black and white chakra in the correct ratio, I want you to start rotating them into a Rasengan. The clone caught on to his train of thought and started nodding its head vigorously. Naruto held his right palm up skywards and started gathering the black and white chakra into it. The clone started making random clawing motions in the air above the palm, and slowly but surely the two different chakras started to merge and form into a perfect Rasengan. Yes, I knew it. Now the only thing left is to test this bad boy out. Naruto dispelled the clone before taking aim at the sky. Since he didn't want to destroy everything in sight, he pulled his right arm back slightly. Juibiko Amari. Ten-tailed menacing ball. Naruto shouted as he punched his hand upward, causing a huge purple beam of Yaki to blast out of his hand, similar to his Shikara no Taihu, force cannon. The huge purple beam blasted straight into the sky and right into the clouds before exploding in a massive dome of purple Yaki that caused the clouds in that area to disappear completely. Naruto grinned in success as everyone else watched in jaw-dropping silence before Kyubi tackled Naruto from behind. I knew you could do it, Naru-kun, so what was the secret? Kyubi asked with her kid fox eyes at full blast. Naruto just couldn't say no when she did that. I gathered the correct ratio of black positive chakra and white negative chakra into my palm. Well, I had a Kage Bushin form a Rasengan with chakras. I just hope nobody noticed that little light show. Naruto gazed at the hole in the clouds. Hokage Tower. Here is inside as he saw a huge purple beam blasting straight through the clouds and destroying them in a massive explosion. He just had to look out his window to take a break. That has Darth Revan written all over it. He thought as he turned away from the window and took out his Icha book from its hiding place. Just read your porn and forget all about it, Hiruzen, just read and forget, haha, Kiara, you naughty girl. The Hokage's secretary was about to knock on his door when she heard perverted giggling coming from behind it. She sighed and turned away knowing what he was doing. But Yujito. Did you just see that, Nibi-chan? Yujito asked her feline demon. The huge purple beam that destroyed all the clouds in that area of the sky. Yes, I saw it and I believe it has your target's name written all over it. Nibi chuckled as she saw her host pale slightly. How the hell am I supposed to fight someone who can do that? Yujito pointed at the spot where the beam originated from. I don't know kitten, it could actually be a hot guy and you can ride him until he. Nibi? Yujito shouted in her mind. But Orochimaru. What or who could create such a powerful attack? What or whoever it was will be mine. Kukuku. Orochimaru thought to himself as he chuckled and creamed his pants at the thought of acquiring such a power. Sasori looked at his partner and was about to question him about his evil chuckling when he noticed the boner his partner was sporting. Sasori paled as much as a puppet was able to and took 2 discreet steps away from his creepy partner, who suddenly turned to look at him with a gleam in his eye. Sasori paled further as he glanced around for a distraction and found a young boy walking past him and quickly grabbed him and threw the boy at Orochimaru and ran as fast as possible in another direction. But Madara fumed as he walked around Payne's tower in Omegakure because for some reason he just could not find the blaster toilet in the building. He looked out a nearby window in the room and saw a huge purple beam decimate the clouds in the sky with a massive purple-colored explosion causing him to shit in his pants. Payne chose that moment to walk into the room and immediately scrunch up his nose at the foul odor in the room. He took an experimental sniff and recoiled in disgust. Did someone just shit in this room? Payne asked as he held his nose. No. Madara said as he quickly used his ability to teleport to leave the room. Back with Naruto. Don't worry Koichi, I'm sure nobody saw that. Kyuubi reassured her lover, causing everyone to look at her skeptically. Now that you are able to form an Amari without entering full beast form, what are you going to be training next? Kushina asked as she took a slight break from her sword katas. My demonic power's special ability has yet to manifest itself, so I can't train that yet. Naruto scowled slightly. My force powers that I currently possess have been honed to near perfection. Don't worry yourself too much Koichi, I'm sure that you will find something to train in. Kyuubi said before she stiffened up slightly. Something wrong Kaiu-chan? Naruto asked the demoness. I sense a presence that I have not sensed in a long time Nibi-chan. Kyuubi exclaimed suddenly. Nibi-chan? As in the Nibi no Bakaneko that had been sealed up by Kumagakure no Sato, hidden Cloud Village? Naruto asked in surprise. Yes, there's no doubt about it. This is Nibi-chan's signature, but that means her Jinchuriki is heading directly towards us, which I bet is no coincidence. Kyuubi replied. Everyone please head back into the house, I will greet our visitor and see if he or she has any ill intentions towards us. Naruto's voice had taken that edge that said he was dead serious. Everyone filed into the house as Naruto changed into his Darth Revan armor. But Yujito? Where the hell did that stupid purple beam come from? Yujito thought in frustration as she searched for some sign of life. Keep your calm kitten, look I see a clearing ahead of us. Nibi soothed her Jinchuriki. Yujito emerged from the forest and into the clearing to find the armored figure of Darth Revan glaring, at least she thought it was glaring at her with crossed arms. Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Bakaneko. Naruto greeted politely. How do you know of my tenant? Yujito asked suspiciously. You'd be surprised at what I know. Naruto smirked under his helmet. Ooh. Ask him if he knows your cup size. Nibi suggested with a perverted chuckle. Nibi? Yujito shouted inwardly. So what can I do for you, miss? Naruto trailed off waiting for her to give her name. And here I thought you would know my name. Yujito smirked. Unfortunately your name escapes me as I am too captivated by your beauty. Naruto replied smoothly, causing Yujito to blush slightly. Damn, he's good, I wonder if he looks as good as he talks. Nibi commented from her seal. I'm Nai Yujito, a chunin from Kumagakure. I'm here on behalf of Kumo's council, faggots, and they wish to extend an invitation to join Kumagakure's forces. Yujito whispered the part about the council under her breath, but Naruto still caught it. So Yujito-chan, why does Kumo want little old me to join up with them? Naruto asked and watched with amusement as a light blush colored her face again at the suffix. The council got their hands on a Kurigakure bingo book and read about your achievements, so they sent me to offer you a place in Kumo, since you are currently unaffiliated with any of the hidden villages. Yujito answered. So basically they sent you to seduce me or sleep with me to get me to join Kumo. Naruto growled mentally as Yujito flinched slightly. Hit the nail on the head, didn't I? Ha. All I have to do is beat the crap out of you and drag you back to Kumo. Yujito announced with false confidence and settled into a fighting stance, causing Naruto to sigh. What makes you think you can take me on, little kitten? Naruto grinned as he saw Yujito rise to the bait. Who's a little kitten? Yujito roared as she charged straight at Naruto and sent a spinning kick at his midsection, which was blocked by a forearm. Yujito withdrew her leg and sent a flurry of punches at Naruto, who either blocked or cleanly evaded every attack sent his way. Yujito jumped backwards and let loose a hail of kunai, only to blink in shock at them just freezing in mid-air a few centimeters away from their target. That's all you got, kitty cat. Naruto released his telekinesis hold on the kunai, allowing them to fall to the ground. Careful kitten, we don't know what else that Kekkei Genkai of his can do. Nibi cautioned, and Yujito sent a mental nod of acknowledgement. Yujito gripped a kunai in her right hand and dashed at Naruto. She feinted a horizontal slash before reversing her grip on the kunai and flung it straight towards his head. Naruto had moved his body back slightly to dodge the fake slash and quickly tilted his head back slightly as the kunai missed his helmet by a fraction. Yujito took the chance to crouch low on the ground and shot up quickly, slamming her right shoulder directly into his stomach. Not bad Yujito-chan, but you have to do better to really challenge me. Naruto coughed as he stumbled back slightly from the blow. Yujito had already begun running through hand seals for a technique and breathed in deeply. Pain. Nkakuk no Jutsu. Fire release. Grand fireball technique. Yujito exhaled a larger than average sized fireball from her mouth. Naruto merely held up an open palm, and the fireball impacted against an invisible barrier and exploded. Yujito fumed slightly at seeing her attack so easily countered and formed 3 quick hand seals. Raiden. Raibushin no Jutsu. Lightning release. Lightning clone technique. Yujito created 3 lightning clones of herself and had them charge Naruto. They rushed him in a combination of different Taijutsu moves. Naruto dodged a right hook before immediately leaping over a leg sweep and catching a rising uppercut. He didn't notice Yujito forming more hand seals. Raiden. Hurricane no Jutsu. Lightning release. Lightning dragon projectile technique. Electricity started forming a dragon around Yujito before it shot forward with a roar and tore straight into the ground that Naruto and the clones had been occupying. She watched as the dirt kicked up from the attack started to clear and blinked when all that was left was a crater in the ground. Good thing all you were fighting was a cloner that would have hurt. A voice said behind her, causing Yujito to snap her head around and saw the figure of Darth Revan standing on a tree branch behind her. You mean that what I've been fighting all along has been a clone? Yujito asked in disbelief. Yes, pretty much, I just wanted to see what you were capable of. Naruto shrugged as he force leapt of the branch and back into the middle of the clearing and beckoned for her to attack. Yujito formed 3 more lightning clones and sent them to attack as she ran through more hand seals. Naruto just force flung 2 clones into nearby trees and force pulled the third and punched it square in the face. However, he didn't realize that lightning clones caused a mild shock upon dispelling and was jolted. Pain. Tora no Tsume. Fire release. Tiger's claws. Yujito smirked as both her hands erupted into flames that slowly formed a pair of flaming tiger claws. Yujito dashed towards Naruto using chakra-enhanced speed and sent a flaming claw slash right across his helmet. He recovered in time to stumble back a few steps. Yujito kept up her assault and slashed relentlessly at him with her flaming claws. Naruto had to use his force sense to keep up with the speed of her attacks. Naruto used the force to trip her and drove a force-enhanced knee into her stomach that knocked the breath out of her and followed up by force, blasting her back across the clearing. Yujito pushed herself back up and coughed up some blood. She stood up shakily and braced herself against a tree trunk. Kitten, are you alright? Nibi asked in worry. I'll be fine, just give me a one-tailed cloak. Yujito replied and instantly felt power course through her body as Nibi's yaki started to envelop her body in a red bubbling shroud that extended into a single cat-like tail behind her. She has full control of her Jinchuriki cloak, that means that she is on good terms with the Nibi. Naruto thought as Yujito leapt back onto a tree branch and took a deep breath. Akaneko Enden. Monster Cat Flame Bullet. Yujito shot out a huge blue flaming fireball from her mouth, causing Naruto to force dash to the side. The ground erupted in a blaze of blue fire that lingered on the spot even after the fireball itself had dispersed long ago. Note to self, do not get hit by that. Naruto mumbled before having to dodge yet another blue fireball that came flying his way. He force pushed Yujito into a tree as he dashed towards her. Yujito groaned as she stood back up. She quickly leaned back slightly to avoid an uppercut but was hit by force-enhanced palm strike that followed. Yujito skid across the clearing before righting herself and dashing back at Naruto, trying to hit him with yaki-enhanced blows. Stay still so I can hit you. Yujito growled as Naruto just kept dodging or slapping aside her attacks, as if he could sense them coming. She sent another Bakaneko Enden at him during her assault, but he just destroyed it. Naruto caught a left hook with his right hand before sending a slight amount of force lightning through Yujito's body. She screamed as the purple lightning ran through her entire system. I'm from Kumagakure and even I haven't seen lightning like this before. Black lightning sure, but never purple, Yujito thought as she felt the feeling returning to her nerves already. Yujito pretended to stumble forward before suddenly shooting straight up, her head connecting with Naruto's chin, and knocked him back. Yujito took the chance to initiate another attack that Nibi had taught her to use while in her Jinchuriki form. Anapu. Samkatsui. Demon Art. Blue fire, crashed down. Blue flames gathered into Yujito's open palm before shooting towards Naruto in a blazing blue wave of flames. Naruto concentrated and leapt as high as possible with a force-enhanced jump, but his eyes widened as he saw the Nibi Jinchuriki aim 2 palms at him. Anapu. Smren Samkatsui. Demon Art. Twin Lotus blue fire, crashed down. Yujito roared as 2 beams of blue fire shot out of her palms and raced towards Naruto, who had begun to gather force energy into both palms. Suin Chikara Taihu. Twin force cannons. Naruto shot 2 beams of concentrated force energy out of his fists. The 2 attacks clashed against each other and exploded. When the smoke from the explosion cleared, Naruto's eyes widened at the sight of a two-story blue flaming cat with two tails swishing behind it. Good kitty," Naruto said before having to dodge multiple blasts of blue flames that came flying at him. He quickly used the force to stop the descending flaming paw from crushing him. Naruto force pushed the paw away before using the force to grab a fallen tree trunk and smash to try to cross the giant cat's head, causing it to smash into another tree. Vegito growled as she got back up onto her paws and opened her mouth as black positive energy and white negative energy gathered into a ball. Naruto cursed colorfully when he saw this and immediately created a shadow clone as he began doing the same except over his open palm. While Vegito was shocked that her opponent was able to use Yaki, that didn't stop her from continuing her attack as blue flames merged with the ball. Vegito swallowed the blue flaming ball as Naruto just finished forming his Amari. More Nabiko Amari. Blazing two-tailed menacing ball. Inbiko Amari. Four-tailed menacing ball. Both of them roared with a demonic tone at the same time as a blue flaming beam of Yaki connected with a significantly larger beam of purple Yaki. The two attacks struggled for dominance before Naruto's won and blasted through Vegito's attack and struck the transformed Jinchuriki. The attack was still strong enough to knock her out despite being weakened by clashing with the other Amari beforehand. Naruto was panting slightly as he strode over to Vegito's passed out form and picked her up. He draped her over his shoulder and walked back into the house. "Seems like Nibi-chan's Jinchuriki gave you a pretty good fight," he heard Kyubi say as soon as he entered the house. "Hey, you knew all along that I was playing with her just to see how well she has been taught." Naruto snorted in reply as he placed the knocked out Vegito on the couch. "Of course I did, at least you got to field test your Amari," Kyubi stated. "I have to get more control over it since I didn't mean to knock her out, the power output was too high." Naruto took off his helmet and Kyubi saw that he was frowning slightly. "Don't worry about it too much Tusan, I'm sure you will get better with practice," Sai said with Kushina and Kyubi agreeing with him. "I guess so, now let's wake up Miss Vegito, shall we?" Naruto pressed a hand to the female blonde Jinchuriki's forehead and channeled some of his force energy into her. "Ugh, what hit me?" Vegito groaned as she returned to the land of the conscious. "That would be me," a rather familiar voice said with an amused tone. Vegito turned to face the voice and couldn't help but blush at the handsome and fair-looking male in front of her. "Oh, I can already imagine what his body looks like underneath all that armor." Nibi purred, causing Vegito's blush to darken considerably, that is until she remembered what he had just said. "Wait a minute, you're Darth Revan?" Vegito asked. "I would like to say the one and only, but I just inherited the name from my previous master." Naruto chuckled. "Why did you go easy on me and then spare my life? I know from the little information we have on you that you could have easily destroyed me," Vegito said as she sat upright. "I admit that I could, but I didn't. As to why?" Naruto smiled as he pointed at her stomach. "I know how it feels like to be ostracized because of something that is beyond your control." "You're a Jinchuriki as well?" Vegito gasped in surprise. "Well, more along the terms of ex-Jinchuriki," Naruto replied, causing Vegito to look at him in disbelief. "I assure you that I am not joking." "Ex-Jinchuriki, that means you had a Biju inside you, so which one was it?" Vegito asked with a curious expression since she hadn't met any other Jinchuriki other than Kurabi before. 9. Naruto smirked as her curious expression morphed into one of shock. "You were the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, the strongest Biju?" Vegito exclaimed. "Yet again I wish I could say the one and only, but alas I am not," Naruto replied with his smirk still in place. "But if you're no longer a Jinchuriki then that means," Vegito paled as she realized just what that meant. "If you meant that the Kyubi no Yoko is free from my seal then yes." Naruto I smiled at her. "Iu-chan was released from her seal. Ask him how it was possible," Nibi demanded, her attitude serious for once. "How was it possible for you to release the Kyubi from her seal?" Vegito relayed her tenant's question. "How you say?" Well, Naruto trailed off as he glanced at the rest of his family, all of them merely shrugged as if to say go ahead. "I merely found a loophole on the seal placed on me." "Loophole?" Vegito echoed in confusion. "Yes, but if you were looking for a way to free yourself Nibi-chan, my method won't work since my seal is different than the one holding you." Naruto addressed Vegito's tenant directly. "Handsome, powerful and smart, remind why you're not stripping naked and then riding him until." "Nibi?" Vegito roared inwardly as a slight blush returned to her face, causing Kyubi, who was watching the exchange, to snicker. "I see Nibi-chan is still as horny as always, Vegito," Kyubi commented, causing Vegito to wonder who this person was. "Iu-chan?" Nibi exclaimed loudly, causing Vegito's eyes to almost pop out of their sockets. "You're Kyubi?" Vegito pointed at the Redeed, who just giggled. "I see Nibi-chan still remembers my human form. Then that means he was telling the truth and hey wait a minute." Vegito shouted suddenly as she realized something else. "Yes, what is it, Vegito-chan?" Naruto lifted an eyebrow at her sudden outburst, causing her to flush slightly. If you no longer contain Kyubi inside you, then how did you manage to form an Amari, since only demons or Jinchurikis, whom are able to tap into their demon's power, can perform it? Yujito pointed out. Very perceptive, Yujito-chan, but I believe you just answered your own question. Naruto replied in a vague manner, wanting to let the female Jinchuriki figure it out for herself. What do you mean I answered my own question? Yujito crossed her arms, which only served to accentuate her rather impressive bust, more causing Naruto to lose focus for a second. Let me give you a hint then, you said only two kinds of people are able to perform an Amari. If I'm not a Jinchuriki anymore? Naruto grinned as he watched Yujito's jaw drop. You're a demon? Yujito stammered in shock, to which Naruto nodded. But how? We encountered a problem during the seal breaking that required me to turn into a full demon by becoming Kyuubi's mate. I agreed instantly since we were already lovers, and well, here I am. Naruto shifted slowly into his Hanyu form, complete with a pair of silver wolf ears and 10 silver furred tails swishing behind him. However, in doing so caused his armor to automatically reseal itself into its storage seal, leaving him in a tight black tank top and black Hanbu pants. Didn't I swear I will find a way to bust out of this seal if you don't strip this instant and funk him until you black out from pleasure? Nibi moaned as she fingered herself in Yujito's mindscape. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to funk it, I'm just going to go masturbate. Yujito's blush at the moment could have rivaled that of one Hyuga Hinata. It certainly didn't help that she could hear Nibi's moans coming from the mental link they shared. Naruto started purring as he felt Kyubi and Kushina instantly teleport to his side and start petting and stroking his tails. Yujito bit her lower lip slightly to control herself. Go ahead, Yujito-chan, I don't mind. Naruto said as one of his silver-furred tails moved towards her and she grabbed it gently and started stroking it. Rivan-san. No san, please, it makes me feel old, and please call me Naruto. Naruto cut her off. Naruto-kun, why do you trust me enough to tell me all these information? Yujito asked hesitantly. First off, I could easily kill you before you could try and escape. Naruto began, causing Yujito to gulp slightly. Mainly because I trusted you, having known the feeling of being ostracized, would be able to keep my secrets to yourself. Yujito didn't know how to reply to that. This guy just knocked her out without breaking a sweat before taking her into his house and answering every single question she asked. But I guess I should be heading back to Kumo to report my mission as a failure and get yelled at by the council before they send me on yet another seduction mission. Yujito spat harshly as she already knew that would be what happened, causing Naruto to frown. If it's really that bad, then why didn't you leave the village? Naruto asked. I don't know, I guess it's because of the few people there that actually care about my well-being, Yujito replied as she thought about Kurabi, the Raikage, Dari and Kurabi's genin team. If they really cared about your well-being, wouldn't seeing you live your life happily and without worry be their first priority? Naruto asked her. Well, I guess it should, but where would I go? Yujito looked down sadly. You could always stay with us. Naruto offered, causing Yujito to snap her head up sharply in shock. Didn't say yes, say yes. Nibi shouted in her mind. You would really allow me to stay here with you and your family? Yujito asked hesitantly but with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Of course I would, and they don't mind either, right guys? Everyone just shook their heads with a smile. Yujito could feel tears coming to her eyes at the prospect of finally getting away from the council and their attempts to turn her into a sexual slave. I accept your offer, Naruto-kun. Yujito suddenly found herself in an embrace courtesy of the wolf demon. She blushed at the feeling of being in his arms but returned the hug. Then it's settled, though you should go back and pack your stuff as well as say your goodbyes to the people you care about. Naruto told her as he pulled away from the hug. Arigato, Naruto-kun. Yujito said before she vanished in a vortex of blue flames, which Naruto believed to be her version of the Shunshin. Another potential mate already, Narukoi. Kyubi put her arms around him from behind after Kushina and Sai had left to continue their training. That all depends, Kyuubi. Naruto replied as he leaned back slightly into her embrace. Well, if it's my permission you're seeking, then I have no problem in you dating Yujito or Nibi-chan. Kyubi nuzzled her mate's neck, earning a growl of approval from the force-using wolf demon. Thanks, Kyuubi, but it's up to Yujito as well, and no matter what happens, you will always be my first love. Naruto whispered as he twisted around in her grip and kissed her softly on the lips. I know, Koichi, and you will always be mine as well forever and ever. With Yujito a day later. Knock. 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 Come in. A gruff voice shouted as the door to the Raikage's office opened and Yujito strode in to see A sitting behind his desk, signing his paperwork with one hand and lifting weights with another. A was a tall dark-skinned man with a large muscular build, slicked back white hair, a few wrinkles, and a small mustache and beard. Ah, Yujito-chan, what can I do for you? I asked with a fatherly smile as he looked up from his work to see the blonde Jinchuriki of the Nibi standing in front of his desk. Raikage-sama, I would like to turn in my headband and retire as a shinobi of Kumagakure. Yujito said in an unwavering voice, causing A to drop his weight in shock. Yujito, do you even know what you're saying? A was flabbergasted at the behavior of the girl he had come to see as his own daughter. Raikage-sama, I'm sure you know all about the attempts by the council to make me into nothing but an obedient sex slave. Yujito's voice wavered slightly as she said it, clenched his fists tightly at the mention of it. Of course I do, I try my best to countermand those orders, but the council just keeps finding their way around them. I replied in a furious tone. My most recent mission required me to try and seduce the hero of Kurigakure, Darth Revan. Yujito stated, causing A to take a sharp intake of breath. He too had read the most recent addition to Kurigakure's bingo book. How are you back here alive? He doesn't sound like the sort of person that can be won over by seduction, and you definitely wouldn't be able to defeat him in terms of power. Exclaimed in surprise that his niece had met Darth Revan and was still here talking to him. That's because Revan-san offered me a chance to live away from the constant fear of someone trying to rape me or send me on another seduction mission. He offered me the chance to live with him. Yujito replied, keeping her promise of not revealing Naruto's identity or secrets. What? How do you know you can even trust this guy? I had stood up and gripped Yujito's shoulders tightly. He had me defeated and knocked out, I was completely at his mercy, but he let me live and offered me the chance to live with him. Yujito placed both her smaller hands against the Raikage's arms and slowly lowered them to his sides. I know you and Kurabi try to look out for me as much as possible, and I will miss you guys a lot, but please. He hesitated, but he knew deep down that he and his brother couldn't always be there to save her from the council, and that she actually might live a happier life away from Kumo and its idiotic council. Alright, I concede to your request. Please hand in your Kumo headband and Chunin flak jacket, just promise me that you will write to us at least once a week. I ruffled her hair affectionately. Of course I will. Yujito said as she placed the items he mentioned onto his desk before she was brought into a bear hug by the man she considered a father. Stay safe, Yujito-chan. I released her from his hold and watched with a sad smile as Yujito left his office before he pressed the intercom. Mabui, please get me Dari, C and my brother along with his genin squad to my office this instant. I have something important to discuss with them. Name? Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Alias? Darth Revan. Age? 8 years old, physically and mentally is 18 years old. Gender? Male. Village? Konohagakure no Sado. Village rank? Academy student. Ninja rank? S-class. Likes? Kyubi, Mei, Mikoto, Kushina, Yugao, Yujito, Original Revan, Galen Marak, Training, Defeating strong opponents, The Force, Raymond, but not the instant kind, Wolves, Foxes. Dislikes? Liars, assholes, arrogant assholes, screeching banshees, emo pricks, majority of Konoha, Madara, people who threaten his precious people, rapists. Hobbies? Spending time with his mates, training to get stronger, meditating and saving damsels in distress. Dreams? Leaving Konoha to either create his own village or join another one, living the rest of his life with his mates, kill Madara. Hekkei Genkai. Ability to use the Force, Uzumaki. Hekkei Genkai abilities. Force Push launches a powerful wave of force energy that flings anything in front of the user backwards. Power can be regulated. Force Pull uses the force to pull a target towards the user. Force Choke uses the force to strangle the target's neck. Force Lightning utilizes the force to electrocute a target with purplish lightning, much more potent than normal or chakra-generated lightning. Force Repulse releases a shockwave of force energy from every angle of the user's body. Power depends on how much force is channeled into the attack. Force Cannon Naruto charges his fist with a large amount of force energy before punching it in a direction and releasing the stored energy in a beam of concentrated force energy. Power can be regulated. Force Lightning Cannon Naruto charges his fists with force lightning and force energy before thrusting it outward and releasing it in a beam of concentrated force lightning that explodes in a dome-like fashion upon impact. Mind Trick able to influence weak-minded people into believing your force-implanted suggestions. More concentration and power is needed to overpower strong-minded people. Note that forcing too hard may cause the target's brain to be crushed by the force pressure. Telekinesis ability to hold objects using the force. Force Awareness ability to sense incoming attacks and to detect things that ordinary people might have missed. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu unable to perform. Genjutsu unable to perform. The Jutsu Kage level. Genjutsu High Jounin to Anbu level. Ninjutsu Seal Expert, Uzumaki Bloodline. Other facts. Ten-tailed wolf demon, special ability is unknown. Due to this he is unable to perform ninjutsu or genjutsu, but is able to perform demon jutsus. Name? Namikaze Uzumaki Kyuubi. Alias? Kyubi no Yoko. Age? Unknown, appears to be 20-ish. Gender? Female. Village? None. Ninja rank? None. Likes? Naruto, Kushina, foxes, color red, spending time with Naruto, fighting strong opponents. Dislikes? Madara, Konoha, assholes, arrogant assholes, screeching banshees, sexists, rapists, people who had hurt Naruto, people who talk bad about Naruto. Hobbies? Spending time with Naruto, training with Naruto. Dreams? Kill Madara, help Naruto accomplish his dreams. Bekkei Genkai? Nil. Shinobi skills? Ninjutsu? Unable to perform. Genjutsu? Unable to perform. Bijutsu? Anbu to low Kage level. Ninjutsu? Anbu level. Yuinjutsu? Seal expert, years upon years of knowledge. Other facts. Nine-tailed demon fox, special ability is to manipulate her Yauki and intense regeneration. Due to this, she is also unable to perform ninjutsu or genjutsu, but is capable of performing the demon equivalent of ninjutsu and genjutsu. Name? Terumi Mei. Alias? Nil. Age? 17 years old. Gender? Female. Village? Kurigakure no Sado. Village rank? Gondaime Mizukagi. Ninja rank? S-class. Likes? Naruto, her village, spending time with Naruto, flirting with Naruto, sparring, furry creatures, bloodlines. Dislikes? Konoha for hurting Naruto, assholes, perverts unless it's Naruto, rapists, sexists, manipulators, the bloodline purges. Hobbies? Spending time with Naruto, experimenting with her bloodline, scaring Ao. Dreams? Be the best Mizukagi she can be, marry Naruto and have his kids. Bekkei Genkai? Yoten, Futen and Uzumaki. Bekkei Genkai abilities. Yoten, lava release, ability to combine the elements fire and earth into lava. Futen, steam release, ability to combine the elements fire and water into steam, the acidity of the steam can be adjusted by the user. Uzumaki large chakra capacity and vitality, resulting in longer than average lifespans and ability to survive major wounds. Ability to understand seal designs with just a glance. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu? Kage level. Genjutsu? Nil. Bijutsu? Anbu level. Genjutsu? Anbu level. Yuinjutsu? Seal expert, Uzumaki bloodline. Other facts. Her mother is from the Uzumaki clan, while her father is from the Terumi clan. Her affinity to water came from her mother's side, while her ability to combine elements is from her father's side. Name? Uzumaki Kushina. Alias? Nil. Age? 22, due to being in a coma. Gender? Female. Village? Originally from Yuzushiogakure no Sado before moving to Konohagakure no Sado. Village rank? Anbu captain. Ninja rank? S-class. Likes? Naruto, Mikoto, Tsume, Kyubi, Minato, Raymond, but not the instant kind, practicing with her sword, color red. Dislikes? Konoha for what they did to her son, her confused feelings regarding Naruto, perverts, rapists, sexists. Hobbies? Spending time with Naruto, Kyubi and or Sai, training with her sword. Dreams? Sorting out her feelings for Naruto, seeing Naruto accomplish his dreams, killing Madara. Bekkei Genkai? Uzumaki. Bekkei Genkai abilities. Uzumaki large chakra capacity and vitality, resulting in longer than average lifespans and ability to survive major wounds. Ability to understand seal designs with just a glance, clan members usually have a high water affinity. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu? Anbu level. Genjutsu? Mid-chunin. Bijutsu? Anbu level. Genjutsu? Kage level. Yuinjutsu? Seal master, due to Uzumaki bloodline and experience. Other facts. Her actual age is 30, but for some reason, Naruto attributed it to leftovers of Kyuubi's Yauki. Her body didn't age a day since she entered her coma, thus leaving her at the age of 22. She is conflicted over her feelings regarding Naruto. Part of her says it's wrong to date her own son, but the other part says that it's alright and found it to be exciting. Name? Namikaze Uzumaki Mikoto, Uchiha Mikoto. Alias? Nil. Age? 30 years old. Gender? Female. Village? Konohagakure no Sado. Village rank? Jounin. Ninja rank? A rank. Likes? Naruto, Kushina, Tsume, spending time with Naruto, tomatoes, cooking. Dislikes? Konoha civilians, Mizuki, rapists, perverts except Naruto. Hobbies? Flirting with Naruto, cooking, training to keep her shinobi skills sharp. Dreams? For Sasuke to revert to his old self, confront Itachi regarding the clan massacre, have kids with Naruto. Bekkei Genkai? Sharingan. Bekkei Genkai abilities. Sharingan, copy we lie, allows the user to predict an opponent's attack beforehand and can copy ninjutsu just by watching someone else perform it. The effectiveness depends on the level of the Sharingan being used. It is activated when the owner is experiencing a life and death situation, believed to be activated due to the stress and anxiety. Manjikyu Sharingan, kaleidoscope copy we lie, this stage of the Sharingan can only be obtained by killing your best friend, but the truth is that it is obtained due to the extreme guilt you experience after killing him. The Manjikyu grants the user the ability to further predict an opponent's movement and special jutsus that are only available through the Sharingan. Examples include Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi, Susanoo, Kamui and Izanagi. Overusage of the Manjikyu causes degrading eyesight and eventually leads to blindness. Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, black flames erupt on the spot that the user is concentrating on. The flames burn hotter than any fire and can't be extinguished by conventional means. I used to cast the technique will be in constant pain and will bleed as long as the technique is in use. Tsukiyomi, Moon Reader, unbreakable game jutsu that traps the target in a black and red world where the user controls everything from space to time. The target can remain in the technique for a total of 72 hours, but only 3 seconds would have passed on the outside. Technique is usually accompanied by a slight sting in the eye used to cast it and severe headache after usage. Eye contact is required to cast it. Susanoo, god of storms, only achievable through mastery of the Manjikyu Sharingan, forms a flaming skeleton-like figure around the user. It is known as the ultimate attack and defense. The form of the figure and attack varies from user to user. User will experience a continuous pain in both eyes as long as the technique is being used. Kamui, might of the gods, forms a dimensional vortex at the spot the user is focusing on that sucks in everything around it into another dimension. Extreme chakra cost and focus is required to perform this technique properly. Izanagi, the ultimate technique in the Sharingan's arsenal, it has the ability to bend reality around the user and can even save the user from death at the cost of losing your eyesight in one of your eyes forever. Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, the final evolution in the Sharingan, this stage is only attainable by replacing your eyes with another pair of Sharingan eyes. Upon reaching this stage, your usage of the Manjikyu Sharingan no longer results in blindness, but Izanagi still takes away your eyesight. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu. High Jounin level. Genjutsu, high Jounin level. Taijutsu, low Jounin level. Ninjutsu, high Chunin level. Yuinjutsu, beginner. Other facts. She is upset about how Sasuke changed after the Uchiha massacre and angry at Konoha's civilian council for pushing him further in that direction and also for trying to get her to marry. She is married to Naruto Revan and is trying to get him to sleep with her. Name: Nayujido. Alias: Nil. Age: 17 years old. Gender: female. Village: formerly of Kumagakure no Sado, currently none. Village rank: former Chunin of Kumagakure. Ninja rank: A rank. Likes: Naruto, Nibi, fish, sushi, milk, karabi, A, other people in Kumo that treated her nicely, sparring against a strong opponent. Dislikes: Kumo's council, other people in Kumo that treated her badly, listening to Nibi's perverted comments, rapists, assholes, sexists, raw vegetables, spicy food. Hobbies: talking with Nibi, sparring with Karabi and his team, playing the shamisen. Dreams: to live a carefree life away from Kumo's council. Hekkei Genkai. Nil. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu. Mid-Jounin. Genjutsu. Nil. Taijutsu. Mid-Jounin. Genjutsu. Mid-Chunin. Yuinjutsu. Beginner. Other facts. Ginshiriki of the Nibi no Bakaneko allows her to tap into the Nibi's Yaki and grants her the ability to manipulate fire easily and use Nibi's signature blue flames. She is on good terms with her Biju, so she is able to fully control her full transformation into her two-tailed form. She developed a slight crush on Naruto after hearing his offer of letting her stay with him, despite her earlier attempt to capture him, may also be due to the fact that Nibi keeps sending her images of a nude Naruto in bed with her. Name: Sai. Alias: Nil. Age: 8 years old. Gender: male. Village: formerly of Konohagakure no Sado. Village rank: former root shinobi. Ninja rank: Nil. Likes: drawing, painting, sketching, reading books. Dislikes: nothing. Hobbies: drawing, painting, sketching and reading books. Dreams: none. Hekkei Genkai. Nil. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu. High Genin. Genjutsu. Nil. Taijutsu. Mid-Genin. Genjutsu. Mid-Genin. Yuinjutsu. Nil. Other facts. Formerly a root ninja that Naruto unofficially adopted as his son, Sai refers to him as his father and Kushina as his mother. Ninjutsu. Sai has the strange ability to infuse his chakra into his ink and make his paintings come to life. It was this ability that caught Naruto's attention. Unknown if this is a bloodline limit or a special ability that only he has. Name: Hazuki Kenjutsu. Alias: Nil. Age: 20 years old. Gender: male. Village: Kurigakure no Sato. Village rank: Jounin. Ninja rank: A rank. Likes: Naruto, water, fighting strong opponents, annoying Hayes, slashing enemies apart with his sword. Dislikes: the bloodline purges, assholes, manipulators, heat. Hobbies: annoying Hayes, maintaining his sword, drinking water. Dreams: reforming the Kiri no Shinabigatana Shichinen SHK, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Dekkei Genkai: Hazuki. Dekkei Genkai abilities. Tsuka no Jutsu, hydration technique. By liquefying the whole body at will, this technique makes it impossible to receive damage from physical attacks. From a single hair to the skin and muscles, everything can be liquefied and solidified at will. Be it to evade an enemy's attack during a short-range battle, to infiltrate a structure, or to launch a surprise attack in a liquefied state, this technique boasts a high strategic value. Using this, the user can also reshape their body parts for suitable situations. The only way to contain a user of this technique is to lock them up in an airtight container so they cannot move about. When the user passes out, they turn into a jelly-like state. As this technique turns the body into water, the user is vulnerable to lightning techniques. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu: mid jounin level. Genjutsu: nil. Hijutsu: low jounin level. Genjutsu: high jounin level. Fuinjutsu: beginner. Other facts: the Isagetsu's and Mangetsu's uncle, their father was one of the first few to die at the start of the bloodline purges. He wishes to rebuild the 7 swordsmen of the mist and make this new generation the strongest one ever. Name: Ryusui Hayes. Alias: Nil. Age: 22 years old. Gender: male. Village: Kurigakure no Sato. Village rank: Jounin, academy head. Ninja rank: A rank. Likes: children, his village, manipulating water, teaching, Naruto and reading. Dislikes: the bloodline purges, child abusers, assholes and Kenjutsu's attempts to annoy him. Hobbies: entertaining the village children with his bloodline ability, reading. Dreams: make sure that the next batch of Kiri Genins will be the best to ever graduate, settle down with a wife and have kids of his own. Dekkei Genkai: Ryusui. Dekkei Genkai abilities. Water bending: the bloodline allows the clan members to manipulate the water around them in any fashion they choose without the need for hand seals. They can use it as a shield or sword or lance. Masters of the bloodline were able to adjust the temperature of the water, heating it to boiling point or cooling it to freezing point in just a matter of seconds. Shinobi skills. Ninjutsu: high chunin. Genjutsu: nil. Hijutsu: high chunin. Genjutsu: mid chunin. Fuinjutsu: beginner. Other facts: a calm and collected person even when on the battlefield, he was promoted to Jounin despite his not too impressive shinobi stats because of his impressive usage of his bloodline. Time skip no jutsu, 3 years later. It has been 3 years since Yujito had moved in with Naruto and his family. Akatsuki has remained silent over the past 3 years and didn't approach Naruto even once. Everyone had been training hard ever since they found out about Akatsuki. Kushina and Kyubi were even stronger than before, while Yujito and Sai had improved tremendously under Naruto's guidance. As for Naruto himself, let's find out by reading on the. Naruto made it a point to visit Mei at least 1 week every month. It wasn't much, but he had promised her that they would see each other more once he abandoned Konoha. During one of those trips, Naruto had been introduced to Chijuro. The bespectacled swordsman wielded the Hiramekure and reminded Naruto of the shy Hyuga girl from his class. He also seemed to emit killing intent whenever Naruto met with Mei. Naruto had started dating Yujito about a year after she had moved in. He found it amusing how the blonde-haired Jinchuriki interacted with her hormone-driven tenant. Naruto had found out that being the Nibi no Bakuneko's container would cause Yujito to be prone to periods of heat, basically making her feel the urge to funk anything with a beep, not that he was complaining, mind you. Naruto's relationship with Kushina was slightly awkward at first, with Kushina still getting accustomed to the idea of being a friend rather than a mother to her biological son. Fortunately, the atmosphere did not last. Kyubi had decided enough was enough by the end of the first year and locked both of them in a room until they sorted out their problems. The two Uzumakas had yet to start dating, but Naruto understood that Kushina still needed time to get her head around the idea of dating her son and was willing to give her as much time as needed. What about our dear purple-haired swordswoman, you ask? Well, Yuzuki Yuigao had finally come to terms with the fact that she had fallen in love with a now 12-year-old boy, albeit a boy that could destroy a hidden village, but a boy nonetheless. She had a few more encounters with a force-using warrior, mostly in the form of him saving her ass on S-ranked missions gone wrong, yet he always disappeared before she could thank him or admit her feelings. As for Madara and Akatsuki, well, don't let me ruin the story, just read on. Clang. Sparks flew from the contact point between the metal blades as they clashed against each other, their wielders trying to overpower the other. The taller figure broke of the contact to deliver a roundhouse kick that was blocked by the flat side of his opponent's blade, but the attack didn't stop there as his sword descended towards the vulnerable neck of his opponent. The shorter figure shifted his blade and caught the attack a second before it decapitated him. He attempted a punch with his free hand, but it was swatted away by his opponent's hand. The two combatants back-flipped away from each other before landing several meters apart. They glared at each other, panting slightly, until the taller one's face broke out in a grin. The shorter one let out a small sigh of relief as they bowed to each other. He sheathed his blade before making his way over to the other figure. Your genjutsu skills have improved. I would say you would be on par with an Anba right now, Sai. The taller figure ruffled the youth's black hair, playfully causing Sai to blush in embarrassment. Ah no, it was nothing too San, everything was thanks to you and Ka-san's extensive training. The now identified Naruto chuckled in amusement at his adoptive son's bashfulness, such a long way the black-haired youth had come from his original socially retarded self. True, but you managed to survive our training, and that in itself is a feat to be proud of. Before Sai could respond, a crimson blur had tackled his father to the ground, causing the boy to sigh at the rather common happening in their household. The dust from the collision settled to reveal Kyubi happily nuzzling away at her lover's neck. Naruto just smiled as he pet her soft blood-red hair that had been pulled up in a ponytail, with a lone bang hanging over the right side of her face. Hey Kyubi, Naruto whispered softly to the beautiful vixen situated on his lap. Hey yourself, Naruto, Kyubi replied lovingly before capturing her mate's lips in a short but passionate kiss. Sai, who had been watching, made a gagging sound as he quickly turned away from the sight of his parents kissing in front of him. Kyubi giggled as she got off her mate and helped pull him to his feet. The couple walked over to their son and ushered him back into their house in the forest. They were in the training clearing. Dusan, where are Kushina Ni-chan and Yujiro Ni-chan? Sai asked curiously as they plopped down on the couches in the living room. Kushina-chan and Yugi-chan are at a nearby town to restock our shinobi supplies, such as kunai, shuriken, exploding tags and ink for your techniques. Naruto told him as he embraced Kyubi, who had decided that his lap was more comfortable than the couch. Sai barely suppressed the twitch that threatened his eyebrow as he pondered if his parents even understood what the word decency meant. Remember that tomorrow is the genin examinations, which also marks the day that we drop our respective masks. Naruto informed his adopted son, who grinned in anticipation. Naruto had been attending the academy by sending a reinforced shadow clone every day. Apparently shadow clones made from Yaki were way tougher than their chakra counterparts. Sai had been attending himself as Naruto wanted him to get more experience in human interactions, but he kept his grades marginal at best and also adopted a semi-emotionless attitude. Kyubi shifted herself so that her head rested in her lover's lap. Since you are only dropping the mask and not revealing your identity yet, how do you plan on fighting without your force powers or demonic abilities? What do I owe? That's right, I haven't told you yet, have I? Naruto snapped his fingers upon realization of something important. I'm going to be using my demonic limit, the demon special ability, and cover it up by saying it is some kind of new bloodline or something. Oh okay, that sounds wait a minute, Kyubi's facial expression went from cheerful to pouting within a second. You mean to tell me that you had discovered your demonic limit and didn't tell me? Well, I wanted it to be a surprise. Naruto gave a small laugh as he rubbed the back of his head, sheepishly causing her pout to morph into a smirk. Kyubi leapt off his lap before spinning around and face him with her hands on her hips. Alright Mr. Surprise, you are coming with me right this instant and you are going to show me your demonic limit. And if I say no? Naruto asked rhetorically with a feral grin spread across his whiskered cheeks, the look in his slitted eyes taunting her continuously with an unspoken challenge. I could always just torture the information out of you, but Kyubi paused as she sashayed up to a grinning Naruto and trailed a hand seductively down the side of his cheek. I'm sure I could find a much more pleasurable method of obtaining said information, wouldn't you say so, Naruto? Naruto grabbed her hand as it began to move down his chest and yanked her into his embrace. I say bring it on, Kaiu-chan. As soon as the last syllable left his mouth, he was pushed back onto the sofa as Kyubi climbed on top and settled down in a position that had her straddling him. She used her arms to pin down both of his own before leaning forward so that her mouth was right beside his right ear. Luckily Sai had left them alone by this point. Do you think you can take me? Kyubi, the queen of the bijus-tailed beasts. Kyubi whispered seductively directly into his ear, the feeling of her hot breath on his skin causing a stirring in his loins. Naruto smirked as he lifted his head slightly and replied in kind, "Oh, I definitely can without a doubt, but the question is, can you handle me? Then take me, my king, claim this vixen as your own. You have no idea how long I have waited for this moment." Kyubi practically moaned into his ear as she ground their hips together, eliciting a small groan of pleasure from the wolf demon under her. Gladly. Lemon scene happened. Naruto-kun. Kyubi rolled over slightly to look at her mate. "Yes, Kyu-chan. I love you." Naruto gave her a warm smile, "I love you too." Kyubi returned the smile before sighing in contentment, "Want to go again?" Lunchtime at the Uchiha household. "Thanks for the lunch, I'm going to the training grounds to practice Uchiha." Sasuke, the golden boy of Konohagakure, grunted as he left the house and slammed the door behind him. Uchiha Mikoto let out a soft sigh of sadness as she finished washing the last of the dishes and slumped onto a couch in the living room. She didn't notice the figure creeping in through her window until a familiar voice spoke up. "Such a depressing sigh should not come from a lady as beautiful as yourself, Miko-chan." Mikoto leapt off the couch in shock when she heard the voice and spun around to find the amused visage of her demonic lover, Naru-kun. "I didn't sense you coming in. I just climbed in through the window. What would have happened if I had been an assassin?" Naruto questioned the Uchiha matriarch, who could only look down at the floor in embarrassment and shame. Naruto sighed as he strode over to his raven-haired goddess and brought her into a hug. "Mind telling me what has gotten you so down?" "It's Sasuke. No matter how hard I try to get him back to the cheerful and energetic boy he once was, all my efforts keep getting wasted by the bloody civilian council. All their praise and sucking up has gone to his head, turning my baby boy into that cold, unfeeling child that doesn't even have time for his own mother anymore," Mikoto replied as she pressed her head against his chest, tears slowly trickling out of the corner of her eyes. There, Miko-hime. Let it all out, I'm here for you," Naruto whispered soothingly into her ear as he gently rubbed comforting circles on her back, waiting for her to regain her composure. "Do you want to know what is my honest opinion on this matter?" Mikoto sniffed as she used her palm to wipe away the remaining tears on her face. "What do you mean by that?" "What I meant was, would you like to hear my honest opinion on the best course of action to take regarding Sasuke?" Naruto clarified as he pulled Mikoto down onto the couch beside him. "Of course I would, you know that I love you and I trust your opinion." "Alright, remember when I told you about the..." Naruto paused as he released a small pulse of force throughout the area to sense for any eavesdroppers. Not sensing any, he continued. "Plan involving us leaving Konohagakure no Sado?" "Yes," Mikoto said slowly, not sure where the conversation was heading. "When we leave Konoha, I think it best that we leave Sasuke behind," Naruto stated plain and simply, causing Mikoto's eyes to widen considerably, but he raised a hand to forestall any argument that may leave the raven-haired woman's mouth. "Listen to my reasoning first, Mikoto." Mikoto knew he was serious when he didn't attach his usual suffixes to the end of her name, biting her lip slightly before she gave him a small nod to explain. Ever since the massacre, Sasuke's train of thoughts had become progressively darker with each day. It is obvious that Itachi must have done something to him that affected his psyche pretty badly. My personal guess would be some kind of high-level genjutsu. I had a Kage Bushin keep an eye on him in case Itachi chose to return and finish the job. It observed that Sasuke has become more and more obsessed with the thought of revenge and hatred with every passing day. Naruto sighed inwardly as he saw the impact his words were having on his lover. That's not the only problem, as you said, the civilian council also plays its role. Their attempts at sucking up and praising him for every small detail has allowed all the fame and attention to go to his head, thus granting him an ego as large as the entire elemental nations. He also believes that anyone who is not an Uchiha is automatically weaker than him and must follow his orders, the civilians, and his large fangirl group has contributed to this. But what could have caused him to have this superiority complex? My guess would be that despite Itachi's betrayal, part of Sasuke noted that Itachi had managed to wipe out the entire clan by himself. So he must have believed that the moment he activates his Sharingan, he would be just as strong as Itachi and able to take on anyone by himself. This leads us to another problem of him not being able to work in groups, which my clone at the academy has confirmed. Sasuke prefers to work alone because he believes that the people on his team would just be dead weight and slow him down. He'd rather sacrifice his teammates to get a hit in than save them. Mikoto had her face in her hands halfway through the explanation and was sobbing softly to herself. Why did this have to happen to my baby boy? Naruto felt his heart clench at the sight of his love in so much emotional turmoil. He silently pulled her onto his lap and embraced her, as if trying to reassure her that no matter what, he would still be there for her. He racked his brain trying to find a solution for the problem at hand when it suddenly hit him like a rolling akimichi. Miko-hime, Sasuke doesn't have to be your only son, Naruto whispered into her ear, pricking her curiosity slightly. After we have left we could always have one, once everything has settled. Makoto gasped as she got up and spun around to face him with tears in her eyes. Really? You mean it, Naruto-kun? Of course I mean it, silly, once everything has settled down. We can have 1, 2 or 3, as many as you want. Naruto chuckled as Makoto glumped him in happiness. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed before blowing a small puff of smoke out from his pipe as he gazed upon the stacks of paperwork that had converged on his desk. Some days he would wonder if Minato died just so he could escape from this nightmare. Spinning around in his chair, Hiruzen looked out of the window of his office as he submerged himself in his own thoughts. R3 Van, it's been 3 years since the ruckus that you had caused, which resulted in the death of Danzo. What are you up to now? He pondered about the mysterious armored figure that had so easily steamrolled over their entire shinobi force, as if they were nothing more than little children. And what exactly are your plans with Uzumaki Kushina? Upon thinking of the red-haired Kunoichi's name, his thoughts shifted direction and landed on that of her son. Uzumaki Naruto, the Jinchuriki of the dreaded Kyubi no Yoko. Turning back to his desk, he opened up the bottom drawer and pulled out 2 separate folders. He opened the first one and slid out several pieces of paper, the academy grades and feedback of the blonde Jinchuriki. Let's see, it says here ninjutsu. Kawarimi no jutsu pass, Henge no jutsu pass and Bushin no jutsu fail. Gain jutsu. Unable to dispel or perform the simplest techniques. Taijutsu. Pass but no true form, uses more of a brawler stance and relies on his huge stamina to keep going. Written grades. Fail. Hiruzen sighed in frustration at the poor results the boy was showing. What would the other villages say when they saw what kind of Jinchuriki Konoha had produced? He massaged his temples before continuing with the report. Uzumaki Naruto shows no interest in paying attention during lessons and is in general a troublemaker. He gets into fights with Uchiha Sasuke and Inuzuka Kiba frequently. In spars, he only wins due to the fact that he has way more stamina than anyone in the class. Skips lessons often to go into the village and play pranks, but I always manage to track him down and drag him back into class. Report submitted by Yamino Iruka. The aged Hokage slipped the papers back into their folder before opening the second one. This time it was a report from his Anbu that he had ordered to keep an eye on Naruto. Uzumaki skipped lessons again as usual. He pranked several stores that had refused to sell their goods to him in the past. Yamino had once again captured him and dragged him back to the academy. Uzumaki pesters councilwoman Haruno's daughter for another date, only to get punched by her. Uzumaki falls asleep during lesson and awakes when Yamino shouted at him. After lessons, Uzumaki was seen sitting by himself on a swing while the other children were picked up by their parents. Uzumaki then was treated to lunch at Ichiraku's ramen by Yamino. Uzumaki returned home to his apartment block and spent the remainder of the day inside. Report by Anbu operative Kuma, Bear. It's things like this that make me wonder why I didn't just let Danzo train him. Hiruzen sighed as he placed both folders back into the bottom drawer and shut it. Just as he was about to start his paperwork, the rhythmic pounding of legs running down the hallway filled his office before the door slammed open, followed by a young voice shouting out. Alright old man, today is the day that I get that hat from you. Hiruzen felt a tic starting to develop in his eyebrow as he thought to himself, why me? Akatsuki hideout. Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged in the middle of a dark room, meditating without his mask on. His breathing was shallow and calm like the rain that fell outside of the window. The sound of a door opening snapped him out of his deep trance, snapping open a single Sharingan that he directed to the door. He could make out the vague outline of a spiky-haired male with most of his body covered in shadows standing in the doorway, the ripple-patterned grayish-purple eyes the only thing that was clearly visible. What do you want, Nagato? I thought I told you that I was not to be disturbed when I am meditating. Madara demanded of the Rinnegan wielder. The Kuzu and Haiden have successfully returned with the Jinchuriki of the Nanabi no Kabutamushi, and the rest of the members are ready to begin the extraction process. Nagato replied with a tone of slight disdain in his voice. Madara chose to ignore it as he closed his eye once again. Very well, you may begin the extraction. Nagato gave a small nod as he left whilst shutting the door behind him, leaving the founder of the Uchiha clan sitting by himself in the dark once again. R3 Van, who exactly are you that you have been able to defeat the Sanbi no Kyuubi, as well as figure out that I was the true leader behind Akatsuki? Madara pondered as he settled into another meditative state. I guess all answers will reveal themselves in time. With this first step completed, my plan is finally being put into motion. Following morning. Alright Sai, you ready to blow their minds? Naruto asked his adoptive son and student. The correct question is, are they ready for us? Sai smirked in response. Now that's a good answer. Naruto chuckled as he ruffled his adoptive son's hair, earning him a mock growl of annoyance from him. Naruto was wearing a black muscle shirt with a grey jacket over it. He also had on a pair of grey Anbu-styled pants, with his projectile holster taped to his right thigh. On the back of his jacket was the kanji for wind printed in black ink, on his hands were a pair of black fingerless gloves with a steel plate over each knuckle. He controlled his image to portray himself at around 5'6", with his hair hanging over his fringe slightly and his original cerulean iris back in place. Sai was wearing a black t-shirt with a kanji for paint written on the front, underneath that he wore a plain mesh shirt that reached up to his elbows. He had on a pair of black Anbu-styled pants with his projectile holster taped to his left thigh and his painting equipment on his right. On his back was a sheathed tanto, his skin wasn't as pale as when Naruto had first found him, and his hair now fell over the left side of his face slightly. Naruto had gotten Sai into the academy by telling the Hokage that he was an orphan that had been left out on the streets and wanted to become a ninja. Of course, the thing that sealed the deal was Sai's unique brand of paint ninjutsu. Thus Naruto introduced him as Gaka, painter, Sai. Naruto and Sai approached the ninja academy and made their way towards their classroom. Naruto gained a feral grin upon reaching the door that separated them from their class. In Iruka's class. The class was bustling with noise as eager chatter about the genin exams filled the air, all the while Iruka watched with an ever-growing tick mark on his head that only Shikamaru seemed to notice. Troublesome, the Nara clan heir thought to himself as he plugged his ears with his fingers, preparing for what was to come. "Shut up and sit down, you brats." Iruka shouted while utilizing the dreaded Inagashira no Jutsu, demon head technique, resulting in the class quickly scrambling for their seats and keeping quiet. "Good, now I can start with the attendance Aburami." Bam. The rest of the name was cut off when the door was brutally kicked off its hinges and sent sailing into the classroom. It then collided with the enlarged forehead of one Haruno Sakura. All eyes, except Sakura, turned towards the doorway in shock as two figures strode in, the first one with a self-satisfied smirk on his whiskered face and the other snickering. Of course, the whisker marks were a dead giveaway to the first person's identity. "Naruto? Is that you?" The entire class shouted in surprise upon witnessing the blonde's transformation orange jumpsuit wearing freak to stylishly dressed hunk. Several of Sasuke's fangirls had switched targets upon the side, and one Hyuga Hinata had fainted with a fountain of blood spraying out of her nose, prompting the student next to her to move his table slightly further away. "No, it's the funking Easter Bunny. Of course it's me, who else has these markings?" Naruto replied sarcastically as he gestured at his whisker-like scars on his cheeks. Iruka blinked a few times before finally coming to his senses. "Okay Naruto and Sai, looks like you got here on time, just go and pick somewhere to sit." Naruto had chosen to sit beside Shikamaru at the back of the class, while Sai sat in the free space beside Ino, who were taking discreet glances between Sasuke and Sai. "Hey Shika." Naruto greeted the shadow user in a cheerful tone, causing him to lift his head from the table and turn to face Naruto. "Hey Naruto, what's with the new look?" Shikamaru asked with a confused expression. Naruto shrugged and replied cryptically, "A new beginning deserves a new look." Troublesome blonde Shikamaru grumbled as he placed his head back on his desk and fell asleep. Naruto kicked back and placed his legs onto the desk as he surveyed his fellow classmates, automatically picking which of them would pass and which of them would fail. Once Iruka had finally finished taking down everyone's attendance, Mizuki entered the room holding a stack of papers that were without a doubt their written tests. Naruto rolled his eyes discreetly when he felt Mizuki perform a small genjutsu on his test paper before handing it to him with a scowl. The pathetic illusion was shattered with a small burst of yaki. "What's the name of the Shodaime Hokage? What's the name of the Shodaime Hokage's Kekkei Genkai? What are the names of the Sannin? What jutsu was the Yondaime Hokage famous for? What the funk? How does any of this prepare us for the real world? I won't be surprised if half of the class ends up dead on their first C rank," Naruto thought with a slight twitch in his eyebrow, but wrote down the answers on the paper anyway. After 5 minutes, Naruto put down his pencil and placed his head down on the table. Both Shikamaru and Sai had finished their respective tests around the same time as Naruto. Iruka and Mizuki were flabbergasted at Naruto's performance. Another 30 minutes later and Mizuki came around to collect the papers. He sneered at Naruto as he snatched his test paper from the table, but he accidentally dropped it onto the ground. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the silver-haired Chunin instructor before letting a small smirk grace his face as he subtly used his force powers to levitate the piece of paper and slipped it into the stack in Mizuki's hand. "Alright class, it's time for the Taijutsu portion of the exam, please proceed to the training ground in an orderly manner." Iruka shouted over the chatter that had risen after the tests had all been collected. Naruto stood beside Sai as the class gathered outside the boundary of the sparring arena. Iruka and Mizuki stood in the middle of the ring as they waited for the students to settle down. "For this portion of the exam, you will have to either land a hit on Mizuki or last for a total of 5 minutes. No jutsus are allowed, does everybody understand the terms?" Iruka's gaze swept over the class and gave Mizuki a nod to proceed when nobody raised their hand. "First up, Aburami Shino." The rest of the class watched as the Aburami heir entered the arena and adopted the basic academy Taijutsu stance. Iruka blew the whistle and they were off. Naruto watched the matches with an air of boredom surrounding him. He felt a slight annoyance build up within him at the subtle glances that the Hyuga heir was throwing at him. He had learned from the memories of his clones that the girl had a terrible shyness condition, as well as a total lack of confidence. Normally he would have taken pity on the girl, but her actions really got on his nerves. Instead of using him as a source of inspiration, the girl used all her spare time that could be used for training to stalk him around instead. The first few times were amusing, but after a month or so of her doing the same thing, Naruto almost felt like going to the Hokage to request a restraining order. Plus the fact that she possessed the famous Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, which allowed the user to see through solid objects, totally put him on edge. Naruto snapped out from his thoughts when he heard Iruka call out Sai's name. He watched as Sai strode into the arena and stood opposite Mizuki in a loose combat stance. Naruto remembered that Sai had created this style himself a year back. It revolved around fast and fluid strikes that didn't give the enemy a chance to attack. He had named the style, the flowing ink style. Oh. Iruka blew the whistle as Sai quickly blocked a slow punch from the silver-haired Chunin, but he didn't throw a counter-attack, which caused Naruto to raise an eyebrow in surprise. He watched as Sai blocked or evaded Mizuki's attacks with a graceful ease. He finally landed a punch at exactly 1 minute on the clock. "Why did you hold back? I know you could have landed that counter hit after the first punch," Naruto whispered to Sai as he walked back beside him. "I just didn't feel like showing up the Uchiha before he even got the chance to go, and I got the feeling that you wanted to be the one to do that." Sai replied cheekily, causing a smirk to cross his adoptive father's face. "You know me so well." The duo watched as the rest of the students went into the arena one by one, with Iruka and Mizuki switching every 5 rounds, so as to keep it fair. Finally it was coming to an end when they saw Iruka exit the arena and Mizuki replaced him, down to the final 3. "Uchiha Sasuke." Iruka called out. The raven-haired kid strode into the arena amidst the cheering of his rabid fangirls, with an air of superiority around him and an arrogant smirk on his face. Naruto recognized the stance as the Uchiha's Taijutsu style, the interceptor fist. "Begin." Naruto growled lowly in the back of his throat when he saw more favoritism towards the so-called last Uchiha. It was obvious to his keen eyesight that Mizuki was purposely going easy on the brat. Allowing him to land a punch on him within 30 seconds, the fangirls went wild, with the loudest being a pink-haired banshee, I meant Haruno Sakura. Sasuke purposely walked towards the blonde-haired Jinchuriki and whispered in a high and mighty tone as he passed him, "Beat that, dope." "Watch me, team, bastard," Naruto hissed lowly in reply as Iruka called his name. He almost laughed at Mizuki's attempt to scare him with his pathetic amount of killing intent. "Kai." "Alright, begin." Naruto yawned as Mizuki rushed towards him and threw a quick right hook that was meant to connect with his jaw. Unfortunately it didn't go as planned. Naruto ducked under the punch and delivered a force-enhanced uppercut directly into Mizuki's jaw, which not only knocked out the Chunin in one hit, but also sent him sailing into the air. He watched in amusement as the body arced in the air before plummeting back down to the ground. He ignored the looks of shock and one of jealousy as he went back to his position. Iruka pushed his jaw back into position before dragging Mizuki out of the arena. "Would someone send Mizuki to the hospital? Miss Yamanaka, please enter the arena." Once the Taijutsu portion was done, the students were given a break of half an hour to catch their breath before they proceeded to the ninjutsu portion of the exams. Mizuki had returned during this half-hour break with his jaw bandaged up. He shot a glare at Naruto as he walked past the blonde. Naruto just gave him a fang-filled smirk that sent a shiver of fear up the Chunin's spine. The students were placed in a waiting room as Iruka called on them one at a time to enter the examination room. Apparently all they had to perform was the standard henge, kawarimi and bushin jutsus. Yet once again the list was in alphabetical order, meaning that Naruto would be the second last with Ino being the last. He watched in amusement as Sai came out with his Konohagakure forehead protector. He signaled that he would be waiting for him at their usual spot at Ichiraku's raiment stand. Naruto was surprised when the pink-haired fangirl emerged with a forehead protector as well. He was sure she would have failed. Hinata walked out with a tied around her neck, tried to meet Naruto's gaze before letting out a small squeak and dashing away. Kiba started bragging and shouting just as Naruto had expected. Shikamaru just muttered about it being troublesome and slinked off to go watch clouds again. Sasuke's turn finally came around, and he too emerged with a forehead protector. He walked out of the academy, but not without throwing Naruto a victorious smirk first. Naruto covered his ears as Ino squealed directly into his sensitive ears, believing that the smirk had been meant for her instead. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto entered the room and smirked upon seeing Mizuki nursing his broken jaw. He just couldn't resist throwing a jab at the obviously hostile instructor. "I'm sorry Mizuki-sensei, I didn't think that such a weak punch would do that much damage." Mizuki just sent a sneer and a glare his way while Naruto was laughing hysterically inside his own mind. Messing with these kind of people was just too easy. Okay Naruto, all you need to perform is the Academy Standard 3 Jutsu. Okay, let's see your Henge no Jutsu first. Iruka smiled in encouragement at the blonde. Naruto pondered for a moment before a devious idea came to mind. Henge no Jutsu? Transformation technique. Naruto was engulfed in a pillar of smoke. Iruka's and Mizuki's eyes widened in fear at the figure that emerged from the smoke. Out of the smoke stepped a perfect replica of the armored figure of Darth Revan, fluttering cloak, glowing crimson visor and all. The two chunins gulped at the intimidating figure. What they didn't realize was that Naruto was releasing a small amount of killing intent as well. Very good Naruto, now please transform back. Iruka marked down a perfect score for the jutsu as Naruto turned back with another puff of smoke, all the while hiding an ear-splitting grin that threatened to stretch across his face at their expressions. Next please swap with an object within this room. Iruka finished as he found himself standing where Naruto previously was. He turned his head to see Naruto sitting on his chair with his feet on the table and a grin on his face before switching back. Excellent, substituting with a person isn't an easy feat. Even most chunins aren't able to perform it yet. Iruka marked down another perfect score for the Kawarimi no Jutsu. Now please create 3 bushins. Naruto paused and faced Iruka. Does it have to be 3 bushins, or can I make more than that? There isn't a rule that says you are limited to 3, the highest so far is uchiha Sasuke with 6 bushins. Alright Naruto cracked his knuckles and neck. Bushin no Jutsu. Iruka's jaw dropped open. Mizuki's would have joined his, but alas it was broken at the sight of an entire room filled with Naruto illusions. I'd estimate there are about 100 plus clones in there, wouldn't you say so Iruka-sensei? Good job Naruto, please choose your forehead protector from the stack on that table. Iruka stammered as he marked down yet another perfect score with bonus points. Naruto grabbed a black-clothed one and tied it around his left bicep. He left the room to meet up with Sai, all the while a small smirk on his face when he noticed Mizuki with a look of frustration on his face. At Ichiraku's ramen stand. Sai was halfway through his first bowl of miso ramen when he felt the chakra presence of his father figure mentor settle down beside him on another stool. Gucci-san, 1 bowl of beef ramen. Naruto shouted out his order. Sure thing Naruto, 1 bowl of the finest beef ramen for our number 1 customer coming right up. Tucci shouted back from the kitchen. So did everything go as planned? Sai asked. Yup, without me failing Mizuki team has no choice but to steal the forbidden scroll himself, and I will be waiting to follow him, a perfect chance to copy all the genjutsu that Konoha has created over the years. And best of all the blame would be placed on Mizuki team. Naruto chuckled evilly, stopping just as AM came out from the kitchen with his bowl of ramen. Order up Naruto-kun. AM almost dropped the bowl of ramen upon seeing the changed Naruto, something that he and Sai found highly amusing. AM-chan, flies are going to enter your mouth if you keep it open like that for too long, Naruto teased the brunette waitress of the stand, who turned an interesting shade of red from the suffix. Enjoy your ramen Naruto-kun. AM stuttered out with a blushing face before retreating back into the kitchen, earning a small chuckle from both of the male customers sitting at the stand. You sure you don't need any backup for tonight? Just in case anything unexpected occurs or something, Sai inquired as he finished up the last of his ramen. No need to worry, I've got this covered. Naruto declared confidently as he slurped up all his remaining broth and noodles before slamming the bowl back onto the countertop. Thank for the food Tucci-san, I'm leaving the money on the counter. Sure thing Naruto, come back anytime you wish. Later that night. Mizuki panted as he landed in a deserted clearing in the middle of the forest surrounding Konohagakure no Sado, the forbidden scroll in his arms and two Fuma shuriken attached to his back. Damn, I was lucky that the Sandaime was busy knocked out from blood loss from reading that perverted book of his, who knew having a pervert as a Hokage would be beneficial in some way. Mizuki thought with a slight sweat drop as he recalled the image of the unconscious Hokage wearing a perverted grin on his face with a trail of blood leaking down his nose. He propped the rather large scroll up against the trunk of a tree as he took a short breather. A sudden rustle in the foliage to his right caused him to jump slightly and pulled out a kunai. Who's there? Mizuki demanded as he walked slowly towards the source of the sound, his kunai at the ready. Well, what do we have here? A traitor it seems, huh? A metallic voice resounded throughout the forest clearing, scaring Mizuki a little, though not that he would admit it. Who are you? Show yourself, coward. Mizuki shouted as he spun around wildly, trying to pinpoint the actual source of the voice. Oh, a coward am I? Why would you say that, my dear Mizuki? Isn't it natural for a shinobi to strike from the shadows, especially since I don't have to show myself to do this? As soon as the last word echoed through the clearing, Mizuki found himself soaring through the air before impacting painfully against a tree that had been several meters behind him. Before he could even recover, he was once again sent sailing through the air and slammed into another tree trunk several meters away, causing several ribs to break. Ah! Mizuki coughed out blood as he pulled himself back up into a sitting position with his back against a tree and one of the few shuriken now clutched in his hand. Oh my, such a sharp object, you should put it away before something bad happens such as this. Mizuki found his hand holding onto the large windmill-styled shuriken move without his consent. The arm lifted the large quadruple-bladed weapon up before stabbing one of its blades into his own thigh. Mizuki's scream tore through the forest as Naruto, decked out in his Darth Revan armor, snickered from his perch on a tree branch not too far away from the clearing. While Mizuki was busy being flung around the clearing, a Kage Bushin of Naruto had begun copying down the genjutsu from the forbidden scroll to a blank scroll using a script copying technique. Naruto was still busy playing the role of a mad puppeteer with Mizuki as the puppet when his clone tapped him on the shoulder. "Boss, I've copied the entire scroll already." I returned the scroll to where Mizuki had left it. "Good, head back to our hideout and dispel once you have placed the scroll in my room." Naruto ordered his clone, which snapped off a quick salute before leaping off in the direction of their forest home. Mizuki was hacking up blood as he struggled to bring himself back to his feet, his body suffering from both internal and external injuries, thanks to the unknown attacks. Blood streamed down from a particularly large gash above his left eye. He looked up as he heard footsteps approaching his position. He looked up only to gasp in fear at the glowing crimson visor staring down at him. It looked all the more sinister in the darkness of the forest. Darth Revan Mizuki managed to choke out in fear, despite the amount of blood welling up inside his throat. The imposing armored figure shifted one hand out from under the black cloak, revealing a familiar cylindrical object grasped in his gauntleted hand. "Didn't your mother ever teach you that stealing was bad?" Darth Revan's metallic voice asked tauntingly before chuckling slightly. "Oh, that's right, I forgot that you were a ninja. Since you suck so badly it was kind of hard to tell. Please spare me, I'll tell you who I'm working for." Mizuki pleaded desperately as he tried to save his own hide, earning a grunt of disgust from the Sith Lord. "You don't even have loyalty to your master, people like you are worse than trash." And he trailed off as he ignited Shinku no Kage with a snap hiss, the intimidating crimson and black blade, casting an ominous glow in the immediate area. "I already know who you're working for." Then Mizuki's right hand suddenly pulled forth a syringe filled with a sickly purple liquid and stabbed it into the area around his heart. Naruto took a step back in surprise at the sudden burst of frolicking chakra that exploded from Mizuki's body. He watched in disgust as the body began to bulge and mutate. Fur started growing in patches all over his body. The transformation finished several seconds later. "Behold the glorious power that Orochimaru-sama has bestowed upon me. Hahaha." Mizuki shouted in glee, his new body resembling a muscle-bound tiger-human hybrid creature. "That is wrong on so many different levels," Naruto deadpanned as he dodged a claw swipe from the now fully recovered Mizuki, whose attacks had gained both strength and speed thanks to his new form. "Stop moving around so I can gut you." Mizuki roared in rage as he started slashing even faster and more furiously. Eventually Naruto got tired of playing around with the deranged ex-chunin. "I would love to stay and play with you some more, but I have places to be and people to meet, so do me a favor and die." Naruto grasped Mizuki in a force choke, but was genuinely surprised when he felt that it was harder to hold the transformed traitor. The surprise didn't last long. With a simple flick of his wrist, Shinku no Kage burned a clean hole right through Mizuki's head. Naruto summoned his lightsaber back to his hand with a force as he let Mizuki's dead body slump to the ground with a thud. He then pointed his still ignited lightsaber at a random tree. "Iruka-san, why don't you come out before I pull you out myself, and trust me when I say my method won't turn out pretty." The figure of Yumino Iruka dropped out of the tree and landed in a crouch. Very observant Revan-san, I saw the entire fight from start to end. "So I trust that you can take it from here?" Naruto asked in the metallic tone of his second identity, earning a nod from the academy instructor. "I'll be on my way then." Iruka watched in awe as the Sith Lord doused his lightsaber and clipped it to his belt before fading into the darkness around him. He turned his head and found the forbidden scroll propped up against a tree. "At least the scroll is safe," Iruka thought in relief as he lifted the scroll onto his shoulder and turned around, only to pause upon seeing the hulking form of Mizuki in his cursed seal form. "Now the question is, how the funk am I supposed to move him?" Hokage's office. The Sandaime Hokage had witnessed the entire fight through his crystal ball and took a deliberate long puff of his pipe. He blew out a ring of smoke into the air. "So you finally showed up again, Darth Revan? To stop a traitor no less. You are indeed a mystery that I will solve no matter how long it takes. I wasn't called the professor for nothing." Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself just before his secretary wheeled in another huge stack of paperwork. "After I finish with all these blasted paperwork." A small group that consisted of Naruto, Kyubi, Kushina, Sai and Yujiro gathered around the living room table on which the copy of the forbidden scroll containing Konoha's genjutsu, forbidden techniques, rested. All 5 of them wore identical grins of anticipation as Naruto slowly unfurled the scroll and their eyes came to rest on the first technique on the list, only to sigh in disappointment. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique, and Taiju Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Mass Shadow Clone Technique. Naruto sighed again as he turned over to the next page, since everyone in his group was able to perform that technique already. Bushin Dai Bakuha, Clone Great Explosion, huh? Alright, who wants to learn how to make your clone explode violently and possibly cause widespread damage and chaos to occur? Naruto was dogpiled immediately as everyone rushed in to learn that technique, and this was how the majority of the rest of the night was spent. With them reading through the scroll and learning whichever ones picked their interest, soon everyone decided to pick up on another day as they were too tired to continue. Naruto let out a small yawn as he stepped out from the shower, whilst toweling his spiky blonde locks dry, the steam escaping from the open door behind him. He was only clothed in a pair of plain black boxers with a red stripe going down the right side. He slung the towel over his shoulder and made his way to his bedroom. Naruto pushed open the door quietly and was greeted by the sight of Kyubi and Yujiro curled up against one another in the middle of his bed. He chuckled slightly at the cute scene he was witnessing. Just as he was about to join his lovers in bed, Naruto felt a delicate tap on his shoulder and turned around to see a slightly blushing Kushina wearing a black short see-through nightgown. Naruto allowed himself the pleasure of fully appreciating the sight before him for a few seconds before looking up at the red-haired Uzumaki with a warm smile. "Anything I can help you with, Kushi-chan?" Kushina flushed slightly at the affectionate way he called her name, even though he had been doing so for the past few months. She clutched her hands in front of her as her gaze dropped to the floor. "Naru-kun, you know I have been thinking about our relationship so far and I'm glad that you and your lovers agreed to allow me as much time as I needed to sort out my thoughts, and I have decided that." Kushina could feel the heat building up in her face as she approached the end of her little speech. Gathering up her courage, she looked him directly in the eyes. "I respect your decision that you no longer need a mother figure in your life, and I would like to attempt a relationship with you. I mean, if you would still let me. Kushi-chan, I'm glad that you have finally come to a decision. And of course I would let you. I would love nothing more than to keep you by my side, to love you and protect you." Naruto whispered softly as he placed his forehead against hers, the red letting out sigh of contentment at the contact. "Let's see, why don't I take you out for dinner tomorrow?" "That sounds lovely." Kushina replied with a smile as she hugged the force-using wolf demon. Naruto chuckled as he returned the hug before planting a kiss on her forehead. "Then I will see you tomorrow. Good night, Kushi-chan." "Night, Naru-kun," Kushina said before yawning cutely as she made her way back to her own room. Naruto stood there watching before a pair of slender arms wrapped around him and the scent of his first mate filled his senses. Time to get to bed, Narukoi, you have to get up early for the team placements tomorrow, remember?" Kyubi mumbled sleepily as she pressed her head against his back. "Sure thing, my kitsune." Naruto pulled her back to the bed with him and placed her on his left. He laid down in the middle with Yujiro on his right. He placed a loving kiss on both their lips and slipped an arm under each of them and pulling them both towards himself before he drifted off into a peaceful slumber. Next morning, Naruto and Sai were dressed the same as the day before. As they arrived at their classroom, Sai rolled his eyes as his father figure force blasted the door of its hinges once again. The door, which had just been replaced, soared through the air and nailed a random Sasuke fangirl in the face, causing the class to blink as the duo strode in. "I got something on my face or something?" Naruto asked in annoyance after the class didn't stop looking at him for a whole 5 seconds, thus causing the class to finally look away. Iruka sighed as he gestured for them to take a sit, everyone seemingly deciding to ignore the knocked out and bleeding fangirl lying in the middle of the classroom. "Alright class, before I start on the team placements I have something I would like to tell you all first." Iruka walked to the front of the class with a bright smile on his face as he looked at each and every face in his attentive audience. "Today marks the end of your sheltered life as a child of Konoha. The moment you step out of this classroom today with that headband tightly secured in place, you are considered an official adult and will be treated as such. Now that you are a shinobi of Konohagakure no Sado, you better be prepared to deal with some of the things that may and will happen out in the field. The life of a shinobi doesn't have anything to do with fame or glory. Eventually you will understand what I mean as you progress in your career, but for now." Iruka's tone switched back to a more jovial one as he grinned at the fresh genin. "I have faith in your abilities, make sure you do both me and your village proud." Naruto suppressed a small smile as he heard Iruka's speech. "I would expect nothing less from you, Iruka lass. I bet that at least 2/3 of the brats in here wouldn't have gotten the message." The class erupted in cheers at the end of the speech before Iruka calmed them down. "Settle down everyone, now I'm going to read out the rankings for this year's genins." Everyone listened in rapt attention as Iruka cleared his throat. The runner-up for Kinwaichi of the year is Hyuga Hinata. The shy, lavender-eyed Hyuga blushed from all the attention that they were showing her. She let out a small squeak of embarrassment as she tried to hide herself in her oversized coat. Kinwaichi of the year goes to Haruno Sakura. Eat that Ino pig, Sasuke-kun is mine now. Sakura's piercing shriek of victory sounded through the air, causing crippling hearing injuries to the students that were unfortunate enough to be sighted around her. Ino was too disorientated by the shriek to come up with a counter-statement. Iruka merely sighed at the girl's behavior. Sakura, sit down and shut up. Iruka shouted at the pink-haired girl, who he suspected had either banshee or howler monkey genes implanted in her. Moving on, runner-up for rookie of the year is Gakusai. Naruto clapped along with the rest of the class as Sai acknowledged the achievement with just a short nod of his head and a small smile on his face. Soon the clapping died down as the class waited patiently for Iruka to mention the male rookie of the year. And the male rookie of the year is Iruka, paused as he let the suspense build up. The Sasuke fangirls were practically leaning forward in anticipation. Uchiha Sasuke. All the males covered their ears as multiple ear-splitting shrieks of joy, courtesy of the Sasuke fan club, pierced the air, shattering the glass windows and Shino's sunglasses. The Aburami air buzzed in annoyance once the noise died down as he reached into his coat and pulled out another pair of sunglasses and placed them back on his face. Naruto and Sai just raised their hands and plucked out the earplugs that they had brought along just in case of an emergency. The other males sent them glares of jealousy, causing them to shrug in indifference. On the other hand, Sasuke just sat in his seat with an air of smugness around him, as well as his usual aura of broodiness. Iruka coughed loudly to gain everyone's attention. Time to find out your team placements, everyone. Naruto tuned him out as the scarred Chunin instructor read off random names that he assumed were the lucky civilians that managed to pass the test. Hey, if the pink-haired one could do it, so could they. Team 7 will be Haruno Sakura. Please be Sasuke-kun, please be Sasuke-kun. Uchiha Sasuke. Ha. Take that Ino pig. Now Sasuke-kun is all mine. Sakura exclaimed loudly at her blonde-haired rival, who also decided to add in her own wail of dismay. That's not fair, Iruka-sensei. Naruto, who had been waiting patiently to be called, had finally decided enough was enough and that his poor sensitive ears could only take so much punishment. Both of you shut the funk up and sit down before I rip out your intestine and shove them down your throat to prevent any sound from escaping. He growled in a demonic tone, causing both girls to shut up and drop back into their seats, whilst a certain Hyuga blushed at the powerful tone. Iruka blinked once in surprise before clearing his throat. Thank you for taking care of that, Naruto. Now, as I was saying, Team 7 will be made up of Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and your third member will be Uzumaki Naruto. Your sensei will be Hotaki Kakashi. Normally Sakura would have been up and shouting at that, but chose to remain silent as she remembered Naruto's earlier threat, somehow knowing that the whiskered blonde had not been joking. At least I'm with Sasuke-kun, and that's all that matters. Sakura sighed happily at the thought. Shit, I got Sakura on my team. I hope the two idiots don't hold me back. I must kill Itachi and avenge the Uchiha clan. I must kill Itachi and avenge the Uchiha clan. Sasuke once again started his daily chanting. Great, I'm on a team with a duck-ass prince of the emo brooders and an endangered pink-haired howler monkey, along with a porn-reading chronically late cyclops for a Jounin sensei. Funking awesome, Naruto swore in his mind. Teammate will be Aburami Shino, Hyuga Hinata and Inyazuka Kiba. Your sensei is Yuhi Kurenai. The heiress of the Hyuga clan and the heir of the Inyazuka clan. Looks like this is going to be the tracking team for this year. Shino deducted as he used a hand and pushed his glasses further up his nose. Naruto-kun isn't on my team. I might as well kill myself now. No. I must persevere. All those hours I spent stalking Naruto-kun must not go to waste, Hinata declared to herself as she blushed and poked her fingers together. Wahoo, a team composed of Shino, Hinata-chan and me. We will be the strongest team this year for sure. Kiba grinned in anticipation. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 will be Akimichi Chouji, Nara Shikamaru and Yamanaka Ino. Your sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. Munch munch munch, you don't need me to tell you whose thoughts this belonged to. Damn, I got the bossy blonde on my team. Troublesome, at least Chouji will be there to suffer with me, Shikamaru thought before dozing off once more. What? Sakura gets to be with two totally hot guys and I get the lazy bum and the fat kid, not fair. Ino protested venomously within her own mind. Okay, that's all the teams. Your Jounin instructors should be arriving in a few minutes. Just remember what I told you guys earlier and I'm sure you will do fine. Iruka told them before he gathered up his things and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto guessed that Sai had been placed in one of the first few teams since he wasn't listening earlier. He kicked back and pulled out a book to read. Roughly 5 minutes later, two Jounin walked into the room. Naruto lowered his book a little to find out who they were. The first thing he noticed was that Kakashi was not with them. The first jounin was a beautiful raven-haired female with stunning red eyes. Naruto mentally snorted at this, since Kyuubi's eyes were much more entrancing in his opinion. She wore a strange red and white outfit. The second jounin was a bearded male wearing the standard Konoha jounin uniform, but had a sash tied around his waist as well. Upon closer inspection, Naruto saw that it was the sash worn by the 12 guardians of the Fire Daimyo. The man was smoking a cigarette and had a laid-back attitude about him. He was not exactly how Naruto pictured the son of the Hokage to be, but it wasn't his problem. "Teammate, you're with me," the lady said briefly as she led them out of the room, Hinata throwing one last glance in Naruto's direction, but he just ignored it. "Team 10, meet me at the BBQ restaurant," the smoking jounin told them before leaving in a shunshin body flicker, missing out on Chaoji's cry of excitement. Naruto gave Sai a brief nod as his team sensei came to pick them up, leaving only Team 7 left in the classroom. Naruto had turned his attention back to the book in his hands, the title of which was Star Wars Republic Commando. Hard Contact, one of my favorite series of books. Sasuke had yet to move from his little corner of emo-ness and was still chanting his little mantra in his mind, but occasionally sent glances at the occupied blonde in the back. Sakura looked from one to another in confusion at the silence, since she was used to Naruto asking her out for a date before she denied him, violently. Unable to take the silence any longer, "So Sasuke-kun want to go out on a date?" "Bei-chan," came the Avenger's usual monosyllabic answer. Oh, Sakura tried her best to hide her disappointment and turned her attention to Naruto. "So Naruto, what are you reading?" Naruto looked over the top of the book and beeped an eyebrow in surprise. "A book?" "Oh, okay." Sakura was surprised at Naruto's less than enthusiastic reply. Normally he would have been jumping for joy at his Sakura-chan talking to him. Seeing nothing else to do, she decided to wait it out like her teammates. 2 hours later. Naruto was about halfway through the book already, while Sasuke was still busy brooding in his little corner. Naruto swore that the light in that area was being eaten up by the gloomy aura. Sakura could be seen sitting at her desk with several tick marks covering her larger-than-average forehead. She looked like she was going to burst at any moment. At that moment, Naruto's force awareness picked up on a strong pulse of life heading towards their location. Naruto felt his prankster side stirring beneath the surface and put away his book whilst hiding a small grin as he thought up a plan. The door opened and a tall man with gravity-defying silver hair stepped into the room, only for a chalkboard eraser to slam into his groin forcefully. "Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes." Kakashi squeaked out before disappearing in a swirl of leaves with both hands clutching his damaged goods. Naruto burst out laughing as soon as the grimacing jounin left the room. Sakura giggled a little at the payback and even Sasuke let out a small smirk of amusement. "Well guys, no point sitting here. Let's get our asses up on that roof," Naruto shouted, and all 3 of them left the classroom to climb to the roof of the school building. They settled down and wait for their jounin sensei, who appeared a minute later with an orange book in hand and a bored expression on his face, as if nothing had happened earlier. "My first impression of you 3, I hate you all," he drawled in a lazy tone as his lone eye scanned through the pages of his little orange book instead of looking at his team. Naruto shrugged in response, Sasuke ignored the comment, and Sakura glared at her blonde teammate for angering their sensei. Kakashi finally brought his head out of his book and took in the side of his team, not too impressive in his opinion. "Why don't we start with some introductions? Tell me your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams," he said with an eye smile since the lower half of his face is obscured by a mask. "Why don't you go first, sensei, so we know how it's done?" Sakura suggested for some reason or another, causing the 3 males in the immediate vicinity to mentally facepalm at the dumb question. "And this is the Kunoichi of the year," Kakashi sighed in resignation as he snapped his book shut and leaned back against the railing in a relaxed position. "My name is Hotaki Kakashi. I have some likes and some dislikes. My hobbies are none of your business. My dreams, I haven't really thought about them." All we learned was his name. 2 Genins thought with a sweat drop. Not divulging any important information, that's how a correct introduction is done between shinobi. Naruto nodded slightly, but only Kakashi caught it. "Uzumaki Naruto, you're nothing like the academy reports claimed you were." "Okay Pinky, you're up." Kakashi gestured at Sakura, who huffed slightly at his given nickname. "My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes are glances at Sasuke, my hobbies are glances at Sasuke with a blush, and my dreams cute glance, blush and squeal." "And your dislikes?" Kakashi regretted asking that question as soon as it left his mouth. "Ino pig and Naruto baka." Sakura screamed to the heavens, causing Kakashi to look over at Naruto to see his expressions and reaction. It wasn't what he expected. "Did you say something, Sakura?" Naruto asked in confusion as he looked up from his book. Sakura's face faulted at his reply, while Kakashi felt immeasurable pride build up within him at his Yotobi student's response. "Okay, you're up next, duck ass. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I have little likes and lots of dislikes, including fangirls." My hobbies are training. My dream, no, it's more of an ambition, and it's to kill a certain man and revive my clan. Sasuke declared while maintaining his brooding position throughout the entire speech. Sakura just looked at him with starry eyes at his cool introduction. Okay, the blonde one, let's get it over with. Sure, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes are this book and many other things. My dislikes are emo brooders, fangirls and many other things. My hobbies are reading this book and many other things. My dreams are unimportant. Naruto shrugged at the end, not once taking his eyes off his book since he began his introduction. A revenge-driven kid and his loyal fangirl Kakashi sighed in resignation. At least Minato-sensei's legacy is normal. Alright team, meet me at training ground 7 for the Genin test tomorrow. What do you mean Genin test? Sakura shrieked loudly before adding in with a normal pitch. I thought we had just taken the Genin exams already. What you have taken was just separating those who weren't ready to take this real test, since I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Kakashi suddenly sported an aura of doom around him. Only 33% of the Genin actually passed this test. Sakura gaped at the new information, Sasuke smirked in anticipation, and Naruto just flipped to the next page of his book as if he had never heard the comment. So my cute little Genin, meet me at training ground 7 at 8 in the morning sharp. Kakashi smiled at them before leaving them with a few departing words of wisdom. Don't eat breakfast because you will just throw it up. So he probably means meet at 10. Naruto sighed as he sealed away his book and turned towards his squad mates. Here is some friendly advice, eat breakfast before heading there. Naruto back-flipped off the edge of the roof before either Genin could object to his advice, but when they scrambled to the edge and looked over, there was no sign of Naruto having ever been there. But Naruto. After ditching the angst-filled Uchiha and his loyal lapdog, Naruto met up with Sai at Ichiraku's ramen for a quick lunch. They were served their bowls by Itachi since AM was busy hyperventilating in the back due to finding out how hot her surrogate younger brother had become. So your Jounin sensei give you the same bullshit about passing another Genin test as well? Naruto asked as he blew gently on a few strands of ramen to cool them down. Sai slurped up a spoonful of noodles before replying, unfortunately yes, and my team is made up of an Uchiha fangirl and a one of ninja. Both with clearly no real form of training whatsoever. I see. Naruto rubbed his chin and thought. Then fail it. Sai nearly spat out his next mouthful of broth at that statement. What did you say? I said fail the test. Naruto repeated slowly and clearly. But then what was the point of having me attend the freaking ninja academy in the first place? Sai asked incredulously. If we were on the same team, or even if you were on a team with a clan heir, then it would have proceeded according to plan. Alas, you were paired with two nobodies, so it would be better if you fail, since those two would probably just get you killed on a mission anyway, Naruto replied and slurped up more of his delicious miso ramen. Sai slumped in his seat with an air of depression around him. I guess you're right. There's Soichi, son. I'm sure I can find something to occupy all your spare time, or you could just go get a girlfriend instead. Kami knows how much you need one. Naruto chuckled at the horrified look his adoptive son gave him. They ate the remainder of their ramen in relative silence, with only the noise of the busy street behind them. Naruto paid for their meal, and they left the stand. As they were walking down the busy street, Naruto felt a familiar force presence following them from a distance. Naruto nudged Sai gently with his elbow to gain the raven-haired kid's attention and used discreet hand gestures to tell him to head back to their hideout first. Sai gave a small affirmative nod as the duo split up at the next intersection. Naruto had veered off into a nearby alley and stopped walking after several seconds. Now are you stalking me under orders from the old monkey or your own free will? Naruto seemingly spoke to an empty alleyway with a hint of amusement in his voice. Seems there is no hiding from you, Naruto-kun. A feminine voice replied before the form of one Yuzuki Yuigao dropped from one of the rooftops and landed beside him. Naruto noted that she was dressed in her regular Anbu attire, complete with katana and mask. You still haven't answered why you were stalking me, Nico-chan. Naruto asked the cat mask Anbu operative again. Yuigao raised a hand and removed the mask from her face. I wasn't stalking you, baka. Yuigao huffed indignantly with a tinge of redness creeping up her face, which made her look even sexier in Naruto's opinion. Whatever you say, Yu-chan. So might I inquire into the reason you were following me and my friend? Naruto leaned against the wall of the alley with his arms crossed across the front of his chest. Yuigao nervously shifted her feet around as she felt a blush cover her face, something that did not go unnoticed by our resident force-wielding demon. I wanted to thank you for all the times you saved me during my Anbu missions, but you always disappeared before I could properly thank you. Thanks aren't necessary, Yuigao, I was just doing what I knew was right. Naruto said as he slipped into his serious persona. I know, but I still feel like I should express my thanks, somehow Yuigao told him with her blush still in place at what she was about to do. Naruto gave her a warm smile. That's alright, Yu-chan, you don't have to get me any. The rest of his sentence was lost as Yuiga leaned in and pressed his soft, supple lips against his in a passionate kiss that had Naruto's eyes widening considerably. His shock didn't last very long as he quickly recovered and pushed off the wall to return the kiss with equal vigor, his hands making their way around her waist while her hands were around his neck. Yuiga smiled into the kiss the moment she felt Naruto begin to return it. She let out an embarrassing squeak of surprise when he spun them around and slammed her up against the wall. Their lips only separating for short moments to take in some air before smashing against each other again. She opened her mouth slightly to allow his tongue to slither into her oral cavern. Naruto explored the cat mask Anbu member's mouth with his skilled tongue, he tugged on her tongue and initiated a fierce battle of dominance between them, which resulted in several moans of pleasure from his partner. Naruto eventually pulled away and used a hand to wipe away the trail of saliva that connected their mouths, a satisfied grin on his face, while Yuiga had a dreamy expression on hers. "That was one hell of a thank you, is there something more you would like to tell me?" Yuiga blushed once more as she nodded her head shyly, "Damn it. I'm an Anbu member and yet I'm reduced to nothing more than a shy schoolgirl, pull yourself together girl." She took a deep breath to calm herself before looking Naruto straight in the eyes. "Naruto-kun, ever since the first time you saved me from being raped I guess I developed some romantic feelings for you. Over time as you saved me over and over again from similar situations, I guess those feelings compiled until I realized that I have fallen completely and utterly in love with you. I'm glad that my feelings are reciprocated then." Naruto replied with a genuine smile, but chose to elaborate upon witnessing the purple-haired woman's puzzled expression. "You don't honestly think I go around stalking every single Konoha shinobi to make sure they're safe, did you? Oh, I see, wait a minute, so did you just admit you stalked me when I leave on missions?" Yuiga asked with the corner of her mouth twisted upwards in a sly smirk. Naruto blushed slightly as he rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment, "Not on every mission, just those that may have high-risk chances, such as S-ranked missions and above. Normally I would say that would be really creepy." Yuiga paused as an aura of depression surrounded the young force user. "But coming from you, that's really sweet of you." Naruto brightened up as Yuiga gave him a soft chaste kiss on his lips once more before she reattached her mask back onto her face. "I have to continue with my regular patrols of the village again, Naruto-kun, try to stay out of trouble na." She chuckled before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Leaving Naruto to ponder about something he just remembered, the fact that he had not informed Yuiga about his plans regarding their eventual departure from the village. "Oh well, I'll burn that bridge when I get there. I have to prepare for my date with Kushi-chan after all." Later that night. Kushina sat nervously in front of the dressing table in her room as both Kyubi and Yujito worked on her hair. The two females had insisted on helping her the moment they found out about the date. The trio had spent the afternoon shopping around Konoha's market district for something for her to wear, all the while under an elaborate genjutsu crafted by Kyubi, of course. "Don't be so nervous, Kushi-chan, you know just as well as the rest of us that Naruto-kun would love you no matter how you look," Kyubi said in an attempt to rid her fellow redeed of her nervousness. "Kyubi-chan is right, Kushina-chan, just relax and be yourself. I'm sure everything will turn out fine, just have a good time," Yujito assured the red-haired Uzumaki woman, who gave a nod of appreciation to both women and took several deep calming breaths. "Thanks Kaiu-chan," Yujito-chan. Kushina thanked her two future sisters as they finally finished with her hair, which she admitted looked much better than if she would have done it herself. A sudden knock on the door knocked, pun not intended, her out of her thoughts. "That must be Narukoi, go knock him dead, Kushi-chan." Kyubi smirked as she pushed the other redeed towards the door before leaving hiding behind the bed with Yujito. Kushina adjusted her dress before opening the door and stepped back. Naruto held a bouquet of roses in his left hand as he rapped on the door with his right. He straightened his tie as he waited for Kushina to open the door. After a few seconds of shuffling, the sound of a lock being undone was heard before the door swung open. "Kushi-chan, I hope you're ready for our DD." The words died in Naruto's throat as his eyes beheld the entrancing beauty of the fiery-haired angel in front of him, his jaw slack and eyes wide as he gawked at her. Kushina was dressed in an ankle-length crimson dress that hugged her form perfectly and showed off her curvaceous figure. It had a plunging neckline that gave him a tantalizing view of her cleavage. The dress had a single slit on the left side that traveled all the way up to her thigh, showing off her smooth milky leg. She also had on a pair of red stilettos and had a black purse slung over her right shoulder. Naruto then proceeded to take in the rest of her visage, which robbed him of what remained of his breath. Kushina's hair was done up in a bun that was held in place by two black ornamental chopsticks that still left two streaks of hair to frame her angelic face. She only had on light amounts of makeup on her cheeks that gave it a light pink tint. Her nails were painted a stunning red in color. Naruto gaped for several more seconds before snapping out of his daze and regarded Kushina with a dazzling smile. "Kushi-hime, you look absolutely stunning. I would have to beat the guys off with my lightsabers the whole night." Kushina blushed heavily from both his initial reaction and his compliments. "You don't look half bad yourself, Naru-kun." That was a huge understatement. Naruto was wearing a tailor-made black tuxedo with crimson shirt that showed off his broad shoulders and chiseled physique. His tie was black in color, as were his dress shoes. His blonde hair was still just as messy, but that was fine in her opinion since it worked for him. All in all, he looked like a blonde Adonis. Kushina could practically feel the love and lust wafting off the two women hiding behind her bed and knew that if this wasn't an important event, they would have pounced on him and raped him on the spot. "Thanks Kushi-hime, well shall we go then?" Naruto offered her his arm, which she gladly took, and the pair left the room, but not before he threw a parting wave. "See you later Kyu-hime, Yugi-hime." The two mentioned females sighed in unison as they watched their lover-mate walk away, their eyes mainly fixated on his tight and firm ass that moved as he walked. "Yugi-chan." "Yes Kyu-chan." Plan A. Plan A. With Naruto and Kushina. As Naruto and Kushina strode down the streets of Konoha with their arms interlinked, heads of both sexes were turned when the couple would walk past them. The males would stare and drool at the beautiful Redeed, while the females would stare and foam at the mouth as they wonder who the handsome blonde was. Naruto smirked as he felt the jealous glares being sent at both him and Kushina. Good thing he was a master of the force and subtly diverted their attention away from trying to recognize their faces. Kushina squirmed a little under all of the gazes as she was unused to this kind of attention, especially after living in a remote location for 3 years, but a firm squeeze and a reassuring smile from her date washed away all those fears. "And here we are," Naruto announced as they came to a stop outside a fancy-looking restaurant. Kushina admired the beautiful architecture of the building before looking up at the name of the place. The Flaming Leaf. "This is the most expensive restaurant in the whole of Hai no Kuni, set up by the Shodaime Hokage and Uzumaki Mido." Kushina gasped out in surprise. "Only the best for my girls," Naruto told her as he kissed her on the nose, earning a giggle from her before he led them up to the waiter up front. "Excuse me sir, I have a reservation under the name of Galen Marek. If you would wait a moment while I look it up. Galen-san, please do follow him." Kushina flipped through the menu before her eyes widened considerably upon spotting several menu items. "Naru-kun, these are our." "Yes, those are the signature dishes of Uzushiogakure no Sato before it was destroyed. I thought you might have missed a taste of the food you ate when you were a child, and this is the only place that still serves Uzumaki dishes." Naruto replied to her unasked question. But how do they know the recipes?" Kushina asked in disbelief. Naruto lowered his menu slightly so Kushina could see his beepy smirk. This restaurant was founded by both the Shodaime and his wife, who was in Uzumaki, was she not? Kushina grinned sheepishly as she mentally slapped herself for not realizing that sooner. "All these dishes, I never thought I would ever see them again on a menu." "Just take your time to decide Kushi-hime." About 5 minutes later and they were both ready to order. Naruto signaled for the waiter. "May I know what are your orders, sir and madam?" The waiter politely inquired as he brought out a notepad. Naruto gestured for Kushina to go ahead. "I guess I will be having the yuzu salmon served with white zo sauce and rice, along with a side order of garden salad." Kushina informed the waiter, who turned towards Naruto for his order. "I would like the yuzu halibut served with chef's special herb sauce and rice along with a side order of tempura. Also bring us 2 glasses and a bottle of Kumo's Kaminari sake, Cloud's Thunder rice wine." "Alright, please wait patiently while the chef is preparing your meals." The waiter bowed before heading into the kitchen, before soon returning with a trolley on which sat a bucket of ice with a sake bottle inside. He placed a glass on each side of the table before carefully removing the cork and pouring half a glass of sake for each person. He then replaced the sake bottle back in the bucket before walking away. Naruto held up his wine glass, which prompted Kushina to do the same. "A toast to our new relationship, as well as wishing us success in our future endeavors," Naruto declared loud enough for only Kushina to hear. They tapped their glasses together before taking a sip of the sake. "This is certainly the finest sake I have ever tasted. Where did it come from?" Kushina inquired with her eyes still closed as she savored the taste of the alcoholic drink. Naruto indulged in another sip before he answered. "From the remote mountains of Kumagakure, there lives an old hermit who was once a formidable shinobi, but now bides his time brewing the finest sake in the elemental nations." "And how would you happen to know this, Naru-kun?" Kushina asked with a beaked eyebrow as she sipped from her glass again. "Why, I've talked to that old hermit, of course. It was on one of my trips with Yujito back to Kumagakure to visit her adoptive family and sister." Naruto replied with a smile before his nose twitched. "Ah, it seems that our food has arrived." Kushina watched as a waiter placed their food in front of each of them before he removed the silver dome over their food. Her nose was immediately assaulted by a mouth-watering aroma. Naruto watched with no small amount of amusement as his red-haired date picked up her eating utensils and proceeded to try a mouthful of her dish. "Oh my god." Kushina thought as she felt her mouth come as close as possible to an orgasm, the flavors from the salmon just running amok in her mouth and setting off all her taste buds. Feeling someone's gaze on her, she turned to Naruto's direction and blushed when she saw him looking at her in amusement. Ugh, it's really, really, really good. As I said, only the best for my love, so just go ahead and dig in. Naruto said as he begun to eat his own meal as well, savoring each bite of the yuzu delicacy. The couple took their time to finish up their respective dishes, as well as the bottle of Kaminari sake, which in total took about 45 minutes or so with small snatches of conversation in between. As the band begun to play a slow song, an idea came to mind, causing Naruto to rise out of his seat and offer a confused Kushina his hand. Would you grace me with your presence in this dance, my Shinku Tenshi, Crimson Angel? I would like nothing better, Kushina replied with a smile as she followed her blonde-haired date onto the dance floor, where several other couples were already dancing. Two of their arms held together with his free arm on her hip and her free arm on his shoulder, they danced slowly and in tune to the music. No clue what music, go search up some ballroom dancing music on YouTube or something. I have to ask, where did you learn how to ballroom dance? Kushina asked, suddenly causing Naruto to almost stumble. Well, Naruto flushed slightly as he remembered his lessons. Kyuubi taught me how to dance and she said that it would be needed in future, looks like she was right. Kushina let out a small giggle at the mental image of Kyubi teaching a young Naruto how to dance before letting out a sigh of contentment as she placed her head against his chest, letting their bodies sway to the flow of the music. Eventually Naruto paid the bill for their dinner before they left the restaurant and were now walking back to their hideout. Kushina was on his left and had her head resting against his shoulder. Just as they turned a corner, several street thugs jumped out and obstructed their path, and they were armed with random weapons from kunai to steel pipes. Alright punk, just hand over all your valuables and nobody gets hurt, the supposed leader said as he waved his kunai in what seemed like a threatening position to him. Naruto merely scoffed as he continued walking and tugged Kushina along with him, none of them, but Kushina seeing the smirk on his whiskered face. You hear me, punk, I'm talking to Ugh. Various clanging sounds were heard as the gang dropped their improvised weapons onto the ground, their hands clutching their throat as an invisible force held them up in the air whilst crushing their windpipes. Naruto clenched his left fist and several sickening snaps could be heard echoing through the night. Kushina just shrugged and reattached herself to his arm. Back at the forest hideout. The couple had finally made their way back to the hideout and were currently standing in front of the main door. Kushina released Naruto's arm from her grasp and turned to him with a wide smile on her face. Thank you for the lovely evening, Naruto-kun, and once again, thank you for giving me a chance in your life. Naruto returned her smile as he cupped her cheek with his left hand. There's no need to thank me for either of those things, the reason I did all that is because I love you. I love you too, Naruto-kun, the 3 years I spent deliberating just confirmed how much you meant to me. Not as a son but as a lover. Kushina felt a tear slip out of her eye, but it was brushed away by Naruto's thumb. Naruto didn't hesitate as he closed the distance between their faces, capturing her supple lips in a passionate yet still gentle kiss that conveyed all his emotions to the redeed. Kushina wrapped her arms around his neck as Naruto's arm slipped around her waist, their need for air momentarily forgotten as they deepened the kiss further. Kushina felt Naruto's tongue prodding at her lips, so she gladly parted them, allowing his tongue to slither into her mouth and wrestle with her own tongue in a heated battle. They made out for a full 3 minutes before the need for air separated them, both of their faces were flushed, and a thin trail of saliva connected their mouths. While Kushina couldn't describe how amazing the kiss felt, she even admitted that kissing Minato seemed bland in comparison to the kiss she just had with Naruto. Unfortunately, just as Naruto was about to reply, their tender moment was interrupted by the battle cry of two familiar voices. Plan A. Naruto and Kushina found themselves tackled by a red and yellow blur respectively before they blinked and found themselves inside the master bedroom of the house. They spun around to confront their attackers only for Naruto to suffer a nosebleed and Kushina to flush a deep shade of red, for in front of them were a nude Kyubi and Ujido. Warning. Lemon start. Warning, contains foursome and other stuff. Skip to next bold text if you don't want to read. Naruto-kun, how mean of you to leave us all hot and bothered, now you have to take responsibility for your actions, Kyubi growled huskily into his ear as her hand wormed its way beneath his waistline. Naruto let out a hiss as he felt her hand grasp his already hardening manhood. Oh, how rude of me, allow me to rectify that mistake, na. Naruto sported a feral grin as he pushed Kyubi back onto the bed before he pounced on top of her, earning a squeal from the red-haired kitsune demon, and proceeded to engage in a tongue battle with her. While they were busy doing that, Ujido wasn't idle as she circled Kushina like a predator would its prey, and her cat-like eyes made it seem all the more similar. So Kushina-chan, did you enjoy your night with Naruto-kun? Ujido's voice held a teasing quality as she asked the question. Kushina eyed the circling female warily, but answered the question, yes, I enjoyed it very much. But because it doesn't end just yet. Yujiro pounced onto her with a shout, the duo falling onto the carpeted floor with Yujiro pressing her lips against Kushina. However, Kushina was not surprised or shocked by this, since she had done her fair share of fooling around with Makoto when they were younger. Back to our favorite duo, Kyubi had relocated herself so that her face was directly over Naruto's crotch. She looked up at him with eyes clouded with lust and love as she bit down on his zipper and pulled it open using her teeth. He could feel her warm breath on his boxer clothes beep. Naruto nearly groaned in frustration when Kyubi looked at him again with a sultry face, her hands ghosting over his clothed member with the lightest of touches. "Ayu-chan, please stop teasing." Naruto finally groaned in submission, causing a small smirk to appear on Kyubi's face. She grabbed the hem of his boxers and freed his rock-hard member with one tug. She licked her lips as she feasted her eyes upon her prize, his solid 9-inch member with its mushroom head and wide as 3 fingers. "Time for me to get my favorite drink," Kyubi cooed as she stroked the length of his manhood slowly before she brought her head down to his crotch and gave a long, slow lick from the base of his balls all the way to the tip. When she reached the tip, she opened her mouth slightly and sucked on the mushroom-like head of his erect member. Naruto let out a growl of pleasure as he felt Kyubi's experienced tongue get to work as it licked and swirled around the tip of his member. The slight coarseness of her tongue just made it all the more pleasurable. Naruto looked down and saw that Kyubi was looking at him with her beautiful crimson pools. A small smirk appeared on her face, and she brushed away a strand of stray blood-red hair. He was so entranced by her beauty that he wasn't prepared when she suddenly engulfed the entirety of his monstrous tool, her experience allowing her to suppress her gag reflex easily. Lemon scene happened. Kyubi instinctively crawled onto his chest and snuggled into him as Yujiro and Kushina took an arm each. Naruto let a soft smile cross his face as he kissed each of them goodnight. His 10 silver furred tails wrapped around all of them like a blanket to keep them warm. Naruto closed his eyes before a thought crossed his mind. Well, that's one way to warm up for my fight against Kakashi tomorrow morning. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.